Mr. Musigidi.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Nku, before we went for lunch, you just reached the end to your second statement, being your supplementary statement. And then, in addition to that bundle, there is what we call additional documents. Those include your CV, your companies, and some of the passport entries. Can we agree that we'll make reference to those documents if and when it becomes necessary, and we don't go through those immediately?
Yes, sir, I do agree.
Yes, okay, thank you. Then, Mr. Nku, you submitted the first statement to this commission, and it's dated the 7th of May 2026. And when you submitted that statement, I accept that you did that knowing that that statement had to contain a complete and truthful account of the events. Is that correct?
Please repeat that. I didn't catch you.
I'm saying your signed statement, the first statement dated the 7th of May 2026, you submitted it knowing that it had to contain complete and truthful account of events. Do you accept that?
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, we have noticed that your supplementary statement seems to contain more information compared to your initial statement. I just want to ask you a few questions on that, and maybe then we can move on to the nitty-gritties of your statement. So in your first statement, there is no mention that you work for the intelligence agencies. Is that correct? Your first statement does not mention that you work for the intelligence agencies.
In my first statement, yes. I was addressing questions asked.
No. The question is that you don't mention that you work for intelligence agencies. Is that correct?
In my first statement?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then in your second statement, being your supplementary statement, that's when then you describe yourself as having worked with intelligence and agencies and provided cyber intelligence support to law enforcement. And the question then is, why did you omit that?
In my supplementary statement, is as a result of the engagement that I had with evidence leaders, where clarity was sought into the type of operations that I do. So that emanates from that. Initially, I was addressing the questions posed by the commission.
Yes, but in doing that, you mentioned where you work in the first statement, and you were not confined not to mention your other work in intelligence agencies. Nothing stopped you from mentioning that. Is that correct?
So, Chair, that is not work that I do formally. It's on a consultative basis.
Is that work in the sense of providing them with information, Mr. Musigidi?
Yes, Chair, he puts it in those terms, says he also provides support to law enforcement.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
And none of that appears in his first statement, Chair. Mr. Nku, you accept that it's not mentioned, and the
it is not mentioned.
Nothing stopped you from mentioning it, ultimately.
I do concede to that. Nothing stopped me. The only reason I elaborated further was on the basis of the engagement had with the evidence leaders.
Okay. Chair, Before we went for break, while going through the statement of Mr. Nku, there was a mention of a name. And Mr. Nku sought to ask the commission to redact that name. However, Chair, my submission will be that that name, first of all, is quite relevant and connects to the dot. And without any reasons being given why that name should not be mentioned, we shouldn't, Chair, protect the name without any basis. And in any event, the name we given is a shortened name. It's not a full name of the person. But further to that, Chairperson, that name has been prominent in this commission. Chief Mashaba came here. He mentioned the name. Colonel Sebola came here and also mentioned the name, Chairperson. So that horse, in any event, has bolted. We dealt with that name extensively between the chairs of Mr. Nku and Mr. Mashaba, Chair. So I will be seeking, Chairperson, a permission to mention the name, and unless we are told the real reasons why the fear that Mr. Nku sought to express, we will submit that fear is unwarranted and there's no basis, Chair.
Before I talk to my colleagues about this, may I just find out if the name was redacted from witness J's testimony, transcript of his testimony that went out to the media Monday morning?
So, Chair, the nickname was not redacted. The full name was redacted, and we also only seek to mention the nickname or the shortened name, not the full name and the surname, Chair. But that's the answer. That it's out there in the public anyway. The nickname that I seek to refer to. Yes, it will give context to what we are dealing with.
Thank you. Do you wish to respond to what Mr. Musigidi said, Mr. Duplessis?
Thank you, Chair. Well, with respect, the motivation by the witness as to why this evidence should not be openly given.
The name, just the name.
Yes, just the
Yes,
name.
yes.
The motivation is clearly personal safety. And unless it is highly relevant why the name should be canvassed, why should it, and why should the witness's safety be compromised? So even if it was in another context, or even the same context mentioned by other witnesses, is not to say that this witness should be required to openly state the name and interaction he had.
Thank you, Mr. Duplessis. Oh,
Mr. Duplessis, even if this name, as contained in the statement, is not mentioned, there will be exchanges in the evidence that the evidence leader is going to be taking the witness through, which are exchanges between the witness and the owner of this name. And for those exchanges to make sense, at the very least, it does need to say who the conversation was with. So you may avoid it here, like we did when he was reading the statement. But if there's going to be qualitative discussion of their exchanges on WhatsApp, on which the witness will be required to comment, it seems it may be unavoidable.
Yes, Madam Commissioner, I then suggest that at that stage, if he does come up, we deal with it then. But at this stage, I can't see that it now has to be put on record. Let us see how the questioning develops.
Thank you.
yes, the practical difficulty, as Commissioner Baloyi says, is that at a certain stage, the texts do refer to this name in so many ways. So I don't quite get why the witness would, this is in communications that involve this witness. So basically what the text will be showing is that Mr. Nku was communicating with this witness.
Thank you, Chair. I cannot take it further. Then we await your ruling in this regard.
Yes. Anything else, Mr. Musigiti?
Chair, those are our submissions. Safe to add that we did have a discussion with Mr. Nku's legal representatives about a week ago to say that if there is any threat or any evidence that needs to be protected out of fear of or protection of his life, then they must bring an application and we'll consider it on its merits, Chair. And none of that happened, Chairperson. So we took it that they are happy to proceed as things stand, Chair. So those are our last submissions, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Nku, it does not seem to make much practical sense for the name not to be mentioned, because it's mentioned several times in the texts that appear to be texts between you and this person. So if there are going to be issues, there will be issues even at that stage, because it won't make sense for us or rather for the Commission to say there were communications between Mr. Nku and an unnamed person. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, though I have concerns, my biggest concerns were the name being mentioned relative to the other names. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, let's go back. Please take us to the relevant paragraph again, where this was first raised.
It's paragraph 3 in the supplementary.
3 supplements.
Sorry, Commissioner Bolu?
Paragraph 3 in the supplementary statement.
Paragraph 3 in the supplementary.
On page 1.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner. It's under 3. I think it's the last paragraph.
Well, remember when you were reading this paragraph on the first page 1, there's that April 2021, and then you skipped that name.
Yes.
You don't have a difficulty with mentioning that name.
No, I have a difficulty mentioning that name relative to the others. So I was going to finish the evidence. Hence, I said that if it is evidence or information that one might is inclined to providing on camera, not in a public setting. So there is another name. There's another person mentioned there, but the name is not mentioned in what I write there, in paragraph 3.
Where you talk about a particular individual, is that the other name?
Precisely, Chair.
Mr. Musigidi, did you raise this issue in relation to these paragraphs, or were you concerned more about what's contained in the texts?
It was not even related to this paragraph. It was completely to the information that he specifically, because remember he had provided these names already. It was really in relation to anything else he felt that would compromise his safety.
But I understand, Mr. Nku, now to say he has no problem with the name being mentioned in the context of the several chats where this name may be appearing. Would that be fine for now? At least for us to proceed, and we can, yeah.
You can't avoid it, Chair, indefinitely.
Okay.
I'm happy to take that for now and
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Let's proceed on that basis then.
thank you, Chair. Then, Mr. Nku, the question really would have been that in your first statement, you state that you came across information from a confidential source. And then in your supplementary statement, you now introduced this person by name as an original source of information. And the real question was that why was his name not mentioned in your first statement?
Chair, the reasons are precisely what I just stated.
Yes, but the same thread that you say existed when you first drafted your original statement still exists or existed when you submitted your second statement. Nothing's changed.
But the difference is in elaborating further. One further states and makes a note, not for the names to be spoken publicly or to be placed on record publicly. Even on that statement, this was more of providing clarity to the Commission. In my initial statement, I was never given guidance as to how to draft the statement, as I had done it alone. However, in the supplementary statement, a greater extent, there was guidance provided because I engaged with the evidence leaders along with the legal team. So I did not know how detailed must the statement be. I thought I was answering questions because there were questions posed on the initial statement.
Chair, may I, with all respect to the evidence leader, I think it's important to have context in as much as it may be important as to why it wasn't mentioned. That, as I understand it, the first statement was made available to the Commission, to the evidence leaders. Then there was a consultation with the witness. I'm not sure who was present, whether the current evidence leader was the person who attended if I understand correctly, a virtual consultation. And then certain aspects were raised where further information was sought by the evidence leaders. So that's the context. And to now ask why certain of the further evidence or information required wasn't mentioned in the first affidavit, I can really not see where it takes us and what the importance of that would be.
But surely now you are dealing with a different issue, because the issue you are raising, the witness can answer that. The witness can say the reason why that is not in the first statement is because of this and this and that. I thought the issue we were debating was whether the names should be mentioned or disclosed. The issue you are covering, the witness has already dealt with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Musigiri, under what question would this have fallen in the first statement? Yes. Yeah.
So, Chair, we're dealing with the question of, so it's 2.1, and that will relate to, so it's on page 1 of his first statement. It's really the question of source of information.
Mr. Msikiri, isn't it better perhaps or more efficient if there is a particular proposition or suggestion that you want to make with this question, that you do that and then let the witness answer? If there is a suggestion that you're seeking to make.
And also, I read the paragraph you referred to, 2.1, to be specific as to certain information that was informed or that was obtained. What was the sort of that specific information? And I understand him under paragraph 1 to be dealing generally with how he would source information. My work has also included the real-time tracking of information in support of law enforcement investigations. So in that sense, I'm not sure that the question is a fair one.
No, Chair, 2.1, it deals with a specific incident. It says that I first became aware of the potential shipment during the last week of April 2021 through confidential source. So it is specific to this particular shipment.
And how is that last sentence that you've been engaging him relevant to that?
Chair, then in supplementary affidavit, then that's when this name is now mentioned for the first time, Chair, in his supplementary statement. Yes, Chair.
I thought we had resolved the issue of the name.
Yes, Chair. No, not the name, but the
Yeah.
context of the source
You just
of information.
referred to the name.
The
now.
name, yes, not the yes.
You just referred to the name.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, so no, we're dealing with not been mentioned as to why the name was withheld. Remember, we're dealing with the issue of.
Perhaps may we come back to this much later. Can you deal with other points you
Yes,
want
Chair, we
to-
can move on to the next point.
Yes.
And then maybe I can deal with the issue of the propositions that we need to put to the witness. So, Mr. Nku, the proposition that we would put to you and solicit your comment is that when one considers your supplementary statement, it contains several important facts that were not included in your original statement. And those facts would include your alleged intelligence background, the source that the name will not mention. You also, for the first time, mentioned the 0-day exploit method. And also you mentioned your previous intelligence operations and forensic allegations. And we will be submitting that those are not minor details, but quite significant to your evidence. And we're saying, apart from the questions that we have put to you, is there any reason why this material information was not included when you were first contacted by the Commission?
Commissioners, yes, I've already alluded. Upon our consultation with the evidence leaders, there was a point raised that my statement is short and not detailed. And guidance was given. I remember my counsel who was with us on the virtual meeting asked clarity-seeking questions as to exactly what points need to be addressed. So that when one makes or drafts the supplementary statement, all those issues are traversed and they are cleared. As I said, Advocate Musikili, that when the Commission served me with the questions initially, I had not been given guidance as to how to provide answers. So I did not detail as probably much as I should have had. It was only upon when there was a clarity from the evidence leaders as to the fact that I should give as much detail as possible pertaining to my recollection of the event.
All right, now we'll make our closing remarks when we finish your testimony, and then maybe you can have a better answer. Now, there has been information and testimony to this commission to the effect that there has been a suggestion that you are a confidential informant, and we want to test that theory. Chairperson, we have made available to the chair a copy, and Mr. Nku should have one as well. It looks like this.
CJC 337.
It's 37, and it says secret on top, and it's got a SAPS logo. And it's called, so this is the cover page of the Operational Management Process for Crime Intelligence Collection Environment inside its division Crime Intelligence. Chairperson, we don't intend on going through the entire prescripts, but we want to highlight and then put those to the witness to try and deal with the notion that he is somehow a confidential informant. And Chair will see that we have only extracted the relevant pages, Chairperson, that we want to make reference to. Mr. Nku, do you have the document in front of you?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Yes, so what we want to point your attention to is on page 51, and this deals with the process of recruiting informants. And the first one is what we say it's a profiling. So a talent is spotted first, and then a profile is created on that specific individual or a group of people that might be obtained to identify it as being of potential assistance to the service. And then you'll see right at the bottom there it says recruitment approach strategies. Again, so there they mention the different approaches how to approach a potential informant. And then you will see that at the bottom we have what you call planning of recruitment. And then on page 53, you will see there on top we have what you call the actual recruitment. And they say this is the most sensitive stage of recruitment process where the potential human source is met face-to-face in order to convince him or her to provide information voluntarily regarding the identified threat or target. And then you will see right at the bottom, there is what you say is the role of the handler. And on page 54, you will see that it says that the handler is responsible for the achievement of set objectives in establishing, managing, and maintenance of intelligence network. And of acute importance is bullet point 1, where it says, so it deals with the responsibilities of a handler in respect of human source include the following: ensuring professional conduct at all times. Unacceptable conduct between the handler and the human source includes socializing, romantic involvement, purchasing from or selling to, borrowing money, accepting gifts, paying monies to human source without a witness. And then what is also important for this matter, at the bottom again, you'll see that it deals with the registration, where it says after the profile of a potential human source has been evaluated, the human source is recruited and registered according to the prescribed procedures. And then it then makes reference to the prescribed registration form. And on page 55, you will see the form of an informant registration, where one is allocated an informant number, and often there'll be an official name, and sometimes also there will be an alias name. And then if you go to page 60, you will see that there's also an undertaking rendering the services. So what I've given you, or at least what I'm pointing out to you, is a overview of what at least it requires to be an agent. And Chair, perhaps can you go to page 63 of that document? And then it deals there with agent provocator, or called a provocation line. And it says the following constitute a transgression of the provocation line: unauthorized involvement of the registered human source in acts of violence or any other criminal acts, for example, procurement, transporting, storing, or dealing in weapons or drugs. And this action would, or these activities would necessitate a course of action to be taken against such informant. Now, the question I'm putting to you, and Chair, if you go on and read the prescripts, also deals with the circumstances where an informant will be rewarded and under what those circumstances are, Chairperson. Mr. Nku, my question to you is this. Have you ever been registered as an official SAPS informant?
No, Chair.
Then that means you've never been issued with an informant number.
I was never issued with an informant number.
Yes.
Yes.
And you were never then, as a result, never assigned a handler to deal with you.
Officially, I was never assigned a handler.
No, what do you mean officially?
So,
If you agree with me that you were never registered as an informant, you were never given an informant number, maybe I should ask you a further question. Have you ever signed a source handler agreement with SAPS?
no, I've never, Chair.
So my next question then is that you have never assigned, you could never have been assigned a handler in those circumstances. Do you agree?
I agree.
Thank you. And in those circumstances, then you'll agree with me that Lieutenant General Mfazi could not have been mistaken at any stage to be your handler.
No, I've never stated that he's my handler.
Yes.
So,
And similarly, any suggestion that General Mashaba or Chief Mashaba could have at any point been considered or at least referred to as your handler, that also will be completely incorrect.
knowing that he is not a SAPS member, in the context of SAPS, I don't think that would be a case. As far as my recollection serves me well, I regarded myself as his confidential source, not the handler informal relationship.
Yes.
Yes. As a source of information.
Now, you mentioned earlier on that you have previously been compensated for providing intelligence. You remember that?
Before you ask that, let me, along the lines of what you were discussing, you, in the supplementary affidavit, you say my work has also included the real-time tracking of information in support of law enforcement investigations. Now, what the impression that this created to me, and I think that it does create, is you have a formal working relationship with law enforcement investigations. Do you care to explain more what you mean in support of law enforcement investigations?
Commissioner Waloi, when one states that one is not insinuating that one has a formal relationship with any law enforcement agency within our jurisdiction. However, as I've already alluded earlier on, that post the July 9 drug bust, one has continued in the efforts of providing information to certain law enforcement members. So maybe when one forwards the documents requested by Advocate Musikidi, that matter will be clarified.
Yeah, well, there's hopefully it will be clarified, but when you say my work has also included, my work here suggests a formal arrangement. It's not you're casual, you happen to come upon. That's not what you're conveying here. Or at least that's not my understanding. It was never my understanding of it. It's not you casually, you get information and you casually pass it on. It's part of the work you do, and you do it in support of law enforcement investigations. Then the question that necessarily comes up is, well, who are the law enforcement people, or even agencies, if you like, that you are supporting? You've testified you've said it's Mashaba. And if you say it's post the incident, we know it's not General Mfazi because he had passed around that time of this incident. So we know you're not talking about General Mfazi. You're speaking just about Chief Mashaba, right?
If I may, Commissioner.
Yes, you may.
As I've already alluded to, post July 9, when one was now fully cognizant of the duties of Chief Mashaba, I've provided information elsewhere. And an example would be the DPCI member that I spoke of.
I think you said Captain Norji.
Yes, Commissioner.
Is he the only one that you've provided information to post the July 9 incident?
I wouldn't say Captain Norji is the only one. I have continued to provide information to other members.
Let me say this to you, or put this out so that you have the chance to deal with it, as long as you're still on the witness stand, not necessarily now. We have had evidence that suggests your involvement in other activities with Chief Mashaba, right? And so when you say you support law enforcement investigations, it is important, at least to me, to know what are you speaking about? What law enforcement people are you talking about, or agencies? What other investigations are you talking about? When are these? So that, because maybe they explain the other evidence that we've received about your involvement in other activities. Maybe they don't, but they help us understand your involvement with if not Chief Mashaba, any other law enforcement officer. Yeah, I'm sure you've been following the events in this commission, so you know the evidence of Chief Mashaba, which places you in certain positions. So consider my question in that context, that it is to understand the fullness of your involvement with what you say is support of law enforcement investigations. And it's a particularly important question to me because you are not a registered, well, maybe not even registered, you're not an informer as informally, you're not an informant, a registered informant. So it's important to understand your exact role in what you describe as support of law enforcement investigations. That's the context of my question.
Commissioner Balui, maybe one must start by qualifying the activities or efforts towards becoming a formal informant. From what I understood, one needed to prove themselves at first. That's what I was told. They provide solid information to prove your credibility. But that got lost along the way because the person that I was supposed to be providing information to then there ended up being favors sought between us. So the project of one building up to become an informant got lost along the way. And when one encountered a general emphasis there was still to build rapport, because we were still at that phase where one builds rapport with the eventuality, because I know my access to information in terms of the access that I bring to crucial information. It would have been fruitful long term. So what I mean to say is the activities prior to or post July 9 are still towards those efforts. Albeit I don't get myself involved in anything. If there is information sought about following up leads, then I may provide that. I can do reconnaissance and provide that information. Hence, I've said I will make those examples available, practical examples available to the evidence leaders for a deduction to be made as to whether or not the information that I provide is, as I say, it is. I don't know if I make sense, Commissioner Bale.
Well, I think for present purposes we can move, but I just want to commit you in your offer to provide us with information that you are scheduled for today and tomorrow. I want to put you under the pressure that you provide us with the details of who are the officers that you have provided information to and what investigations were these, and we should have that before you testify tomorrow morning with the chair's permission. I see he nods.
No, yeah. In fact, during the time when we were asking only questions seeking clarity, I actually engaged you on this, and you gave me just one name, Officer Norche. I don't remember you giving me any other, so I agree. Please be ready with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I do this?
Include the dates, even if it's not an exact date. If you say this was in May 2022, that's sufficient.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Nku, good afternoon. I want us to clear up this issue of what you are doing before 9 July 2021. I think you've accepted that you have never been recruited as an informant and you've never been registered as an informant.
I agree, Commissioner.
Yes. So you could never have been a subs informant. Now we go to Chief Mashaba, and paragraph 2.2 of your original statement helps because you say prior to 9 July 2021, which is the period that is of particular use to us. Your relationship with him was that of a professional acquaintance. That's what you say?
Yes.
So I take it from that he never recruited you as an informant.
No, he
never recruited you.
No, he never recruited me. It was I exchanged information with him. There was never a formal engagement.
And he never paid you either for the information you gave?
No, he's never.
And it was up to you if you had information, whether you want to give it to him or not.
Precisely.
So you never had an obligation to give him information, even if you were aware of criminality. There was nothing that bound you to give information to him. Correct?
I would say that.
Yes. And he couldn't say to you, you have breached our agreement if you didn't give him information relating to criminality.
Correct.
Because there was no such obligation.
Precisely.
Yes. And I need your assistance here. I'm speaking for my co-commissioners and Mr. Musikidi. There seems to be an issue with the transcription. So please wait for the question to be completed. And then you will see a note from us. That's usually a cue to you to then start your answer. Because it appears that we keep interrupting each other and the transcription reflects that. And it is not your fault. So I'm just saying from now on going forward, you'll see the note. Then that means you can answer the question. And I think that's the best way of maybe dealing with it going forward. So wait for the question to be completed. Then you'll see the note and then you can answer. And we will all try to remember that.
Oh, thanks for the note.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Nku, you stated that previously you have been compensated for providing intelligence. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Yes. Who paid you? Can you share that information?
That information may be shared confidentially because it involves consultation with foreign intelligence agencies. The details to that I'm willing to provide to the commission,
Sorry,
not on a public sitting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please finish the sentence.
Oh, sorry. I was saying the details pertaining to such because of the nature of the information provided or sought. It's not for public consumption, and there are NCNDAs to the tune.
I'm interested in the foreign intelligence agency part. What I was saying about that exactly in the context of you receiving payment.
Information, basic consultation provided to foreign intelligence agencies have resulted in remuneration.
Oh, you were paid abroad?
For consultations done with foreign entities.
Oh, and in South Africa?
Oh, in South Africa, I haven't been formally paid.
In South Africa, you were not paid?
I haven't been paid in South Africa.
Okay.
But you see, where in your supplementary statement, you make that statement about being paid, you were answering a question. What was your interest in following up on the information on the 9th? That's what you were being asked. That is
Yes.
on page 4 of your supplementary statement. And then you say in paragraph 2, and I'm reading from the third line, you say, beyond that, my motivations remained consistent with a confidential source who expected to be rewarded for giving executable information, which led to a successful discovery, as I have in the past been compensated for providing crucial information. So the sentence that reads, my motivation remained consistent with a confidential source who expected to be rewarded for giving executable information, which led to a successful recovery, is you expected. This is where you're explaining why you were disinterested in this bust, following up on it. And you say, I had the expectation to be paid as a confidential source. That's how you're answering that question. You're not distinguishing domestic and foreign intelligence agencies.
So maybe I need to clarify that, Commissioner Balui. That's why at the end maybe I qualify with engagement with foreign entities. So I do not make any claim that I have been paid previously by our local law enforcement for following up on information. For me, that was something that is, I'm still building rapport.
So with that answer then, we must then delete for that answer to stand. And I want to see how whether you have actually answered the question after the deletion. That answer must mean you delete everything in that paragraph. Second paragraph, that's it. Beyond that, my motivation remained consistent with a confidential source who expected to be rewarded. If you were not expecting to be paid, then that part up to the end of that paragraph should not be there, because it has nothing to do with why were you interested to follow up on this information on the 9th. You can, just delete it in your mind and then see, and then try and see what I'm saying.
Please direct me to that paragraph, Commissioner Baloi.
Paragraph 6 is your supplementary statement.
Okay, supplementary.
Paragraph 6 at page 4. You were asked the question, what was my interest in following up on the information on the 9th? So the 9th is the day of the operation, and the evidence is you were there throughout, including at the scene itself. Then you start off by saying, as with numerous previous occasions on which I had voluntarily furnished intelligence to law enforcement agencies in the hope that it would contribute to successful operational outcomes, my interest in following up on the information that ultimately led to the Eraton drug bust was no different. That's paragraph 1. The second paragraph is that the principal distinction in this instance was the sheer magnitude of the narcotics ultimately recovered, notwithstanding the fact that we unfortunately lost visibility of the arms trafficking component of the intelligence. And then you say, beyond that, my motivation remained consistent with a confidential source who expected to be rewarded for giving executable information which led to a successful discovery. So up to that point, and a reasonable reading is that is your answer to, that is part of your answer to why were you following up on this information on the 9th. I see you want to say something. Yes.
Commissioner Baloi, I believe when we went through the statement earlier on through Chair, there was additional context added after crucial information, following up crucial information for other intelligence agencies. Yes.
As I have in the past been compensated for providing crucial information for
other intelligence agencies.
Yeah, but that doesn't change what I'm raising with you.
Okay.
It doesn't. The point I'm making to you is, you now say, where you talk about compensation, you are speaking about work that you do for other agencies, foreign agencies. Am I understanding you correctly? That to now be your evidence?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. So I'm prepared for purposes of my engagement with you to delete the part of that paragraph which talks about compensation to you. Because now you tell us you did not expect compensation for this drug bust.
Yes, Commissioner.
Am I correct?
Yes,
you did not expect compensation. So what then is your answer to the question that was asked of you? Why were you following up on the information on the 9th itself, when you followed up, when you became part of the entourage that ends up at Scania? What is your answer for doing that, for your being there? Not just at Scania, but following up all the way up to where you land, ending up parked at the Scania property.
So my reason for following up on information still remains the same, that with information provided saving as positive and a successful operation, the information leads to a successful operation. The promises that were made for me in the past will come to fruition in a sense that, hence I said promises were made that I would eventually become a paid confidential source. So,
Okay, that's your explanation now, but how does that explain, how is that an answer that on the 9th you followed up, you were present, you have provided the information. Chief Mashaba knows that you've provided the information to him if he's the correct person that you're seeking to impress. The question still remains, why are you there? Why are you at... When they go to Yellow Jersey, you wait for them. When they move from Yellow Jersey, you're escorting them, you're going with them. When they get to Scania, you drive in with them, you park. We know later on that you actually take pictures or a video because you tell us that. And the question remains, you've given the information, so Chief Mashaba knows that you're a good person. You give information and it turns out to be good, and the drugs are discovered based on your information. It still doesn't explain why are you there on the day. And the question was for you to explain why you were following up on this on the 9th.
To clarify that, Commissioner Baloyi, initially on the 9th, maybe let's start at Yellow Jersey. My presence at Yellow Jersey was for me to point out or give the location, point out. And in my understanding, my presence should have been limited to that and left it at that. Basic, because the scene that I provided was Yellow Jersey. That's the information that I provided. It ought to have limited itself to Yellow Jersey, and I was of the impression that a operation was going to be conducted at Yellow Jersey. However, a decision was taken. And I would deem myself a bystander to that decision, because upon Chief Mashaba's return with Warrant Officer Mohana, I was instructed to follow by Chief Mashaba. I did inquire that, okay, but why? I've provided you information. Why? And you said members are coming, because basically that he had expressed that they'll go and check, and then more members will come in. But to my surprise, they went out. Upon inquiring, he just told me to follow him. They are going to inspect the truck in Erotin.
The question remains, why do you follow? You've identified the truck. You've given them the full details. Now it's in the hands of the police. And for the purpose of my engagement with you, I'm going to assume these are legitimate police officers. You've given them information. You don't doubt that they're legitimate police officers. The question remains, why are you following them? And you can't say he's instructed you, because I'm going to counter and say, but he's not your boss. You could have driven off if you wanted to. He wouldn't arrest you. He wouldn't beat you up. So that's not a good enough answer if your answer is he instructed me. So the question remains, and this is the question that was asked for you to address in the statement. It's not a new question. You had given an answer which on the face of it looked like a good enough answer. I expected to be rewarded. I don't think one could quarrel with that as a source of information, but as you being the source, but now you've told us that's not why you were there. You were not expecting to be paid. You've given the information. Why are you going with them to Scania? Why do you get into the property? Why do you park? Why are you taking pictures? What's your interest?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Balui. Commissioner Balui, maybe one needs to go back and clarify the issue of me not seeking payment. Not at that juncture. I'm still building myself towards that. It's not that one does not want compensation at all if one provides crucial information. But I understand it's a process. The issue of me being present, I do not limit it to an instruction. However, as I've already alluded earlier on, that I've provided information before and was told that that never happened. And alas, I see in the media that information became successful. So my notion was to be there in the vicinity at Yellow. Basically, I was very far from Yellow Chase. I wasn't even within the Yellow Chase vicinity. I had parked 500 meters and more away from Yellow Chase. Had I seen more police officers coming in, I would have definitely have vacated. Then my information is positive. My expectation was, as Chief Mashava had already alluded to the fact that if the information checks out, more members will start coming in. That was my expectation. I never expected myself to end up in Scania, and for me to follow up into Scania itself, I would guess it extends to curiosity whether my information checks out, because for me to be left not being curious to see any contents being handled, but curious to see that the information checks out. Because I wouldn't have, in the past, it had happened that, as I said with Chief Mashava, I give information, I know that information turns out, and then he says nothing happened.
So even if Chief Mashaba hadn't, you say he instructed you to come, even if he hadn't instructed you to go with, you would still have gone because you are curious and you want to see that this ends up in the right hands. The right hands being the police. You say, had you seen that there are more police officers arriving, you would have left. Is that what you're saying?
If Chief Mashaba hadn't instructed me to take along, I don't think I would have taken along, because I do not know the protocols of law enforcement, what is required. So him giving that instruction, in my mind, extending to the curiosity, in my mind, it was okay, it's okay. You can take along. Because he expressed that come with and then stay in your car.
You see, Chief Mashaba was asked this question because it is an important question. Why if Mr. Nku is an informer, why is he part of this? And his answer was, you asked to join. It was that simple an answer that he gave. He said he was there because he asked to join us. What do you say to that?
Commissioner Baloyi, Chief Mashaba might have mistaken, because if I asked, I would have went with them into Yellow Jersey. Because if the vested interest was seeing, that means from the initial point, I would have driven with them into Yellow Jersey. Hence, I say my queue was seeing. Apologies. Was seeing other police cars coming in. That was my cue to say that the operation is a success.
So he was not on your account. Chief Mashaba was not truthful when he said you asked.
He might have been mistaken.
He's not mistaken. He was being untruthful.
He was being untruthful. I didn't ask to tag along.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to complete that last exchange, just for your benefit, to read what Chief Mashaba said. He says, well, so this is from the transcript. He says, well, Mr. Nku asked me that it would be a problem for me to accompany you guys because other informations I have give other people. I get to be told that they were unsuccessful, or I get to be told stories or excuses. Can I come with you guys? I said, I do not see a problem because I know I have worked with you a lot before, and I know I worked with a lot of police that comes with their informants. The only thing I said to him, please make sure you sit in your car and you do not participate.
Is your mic on?
It is on, Chair. Apologies. I was reading far from the left. Apologies.
Yeah.
But I was putting on record that the nub of it really is that.
Is it not practical to flight this?
Chair, they'll try and get it up.
Thank you.
The essence of it really is that Mr. Mashaba is quite clear that you requested to come. And we'll try and find evidence of Warrant Officer Mahan as well, who, if I remember very well, said the same thing. And I will be saying to you that it's improbable that they could both say the same thing about you, and you could be the only one who's correct when they say you insisted on coming, and you gave reasons as to why you wanted to come. So you did not just want to come out of curiosity, you gave reasons why you needed to come. What is your comment?
As I've said before, if I wanted to be part of an operation, I would have driven in with them into the Yellow Jersey company. However, my role was limited to pointing and providing to the information. Hence, I stayed behind and awaited an instruction. So, as far as it relates to me, being the one to be upfront and say that I want to tag along, I put it to you, Advocate Msigiri, that it isn't.
No, you can't put to me. I'm asking the question, so please resist on that and focus on the question.
Apologies.
And I'll say that coupled with your curiosity that you yourself confessed, this answer by Chief Mashaba is more probable than your answer to say that he instructed you. The only instructions he gave you is that you must sit in the car and not join them as they go inside to search the truck. But that's my proposition to you, that you had a reason, you provided a reason. You also said now, when you testify, that you had a curiosity, hence you were there. So coupled with that, the only instructions was for you to stay in the car. But anything else, you insisted on coming. And we'll get to the question as to why you insisted on coming, to seeing through this operation. Do you want to comment?
I'll repeat this, commissioners. If I wanted to be part of the operation, why not do it at the point of origin, at Yellow Jersey? Because then that would imply I knew that they were going to release the truck to go out. There's a decision they took void of my presence. So if they had taken the intel, called all the relevant people there at Yellow Jersey, they wouldn't have had to be in need for me to tag along, because there was never prior communication or any communication while they were at Yellow Jersey. They, from what I gathered after the fact, was there was an agreement reached with the management of Yellow Jersey, but the decision not to conduct the operation in Yellow Jersey was taken void of my presence. So the scene, I still maintain this, Advocate Musekidi, that the scene that I provided was Yellow Jersey Logistics. That's the scene that I provided to Chief Mashaba. That's why all the relevant information was given to that tune. It relates to Yellow Jersey Logistics. To move the scene elsewhere, it's a decision taken in my absence. And for me to suddenly want to tag along when I wasn't even part in the first place, for me, it wouldn't make sense.
No. I'm going to give you my last comment on this one, and then we move on. And I've said to you, you gave reasons to Mashaba as to why you want to follow through and follow them to the second scene. And you also testified here now that you also held a particular curiosity to see this process to the end. And I will be making submissions at the end to say there are other more sinister reasons as to why you had to see this thing to the end. And I would ask you, could there be any possible reason why Chief Mashaba would ask you to follow, or instruct you, in fact, to follow them? What would your role be there if he was to ask you to come? Because you served no purpose. You've provided all the information, it's positive. He had no reason whatsoever. Can you come up with one reason why he wants you to be there?
So, may I? Okay. So, I draw the reason from what transpired at the scene itself in Aeroton. Because when we were at Aeroton, I think that there's an instant when it had just been before the arrival of Warrant Officer Pagula. I requested to leave. I requested Chief Mashaba to leave. And the reason provided was wait for the crime scene manager. He might have questions for you.
You see, that's my difficulty with your testimony all along, is that you tailor evidence as you go by. None of the witnesses who came to testify, not Chief Mashaba, said anything about you leaving. You have provided 3 statements. None of those statements mention you ever wanting to leave. It is now that you are cornered as to why you insisted on being there. You are being faced with black and white evidence as to why you insisted on being there. Now you are giving us completely new evidence that, in fact, at some stage, you wanted to be relinquished. And I put it to you, that is a typical case of tailoring evidence as you go. And that is highly unsustainable. because it is not supported by the true facts.
Commissioners, as far as my recollection serves me well, and I don't know why Chief Mashaba hasn't stated this. I made a call to him while we were at the scene. While I was sitting in my car, if my memory served me well, I did make a call to Chief Mashaba to make such a request.
You may have made that kind of call, but I think the point is, it does not make sense that Chief Mashaba would invite you to go to the scene, or to use your language, instruct you, because you serve no purpose. On your own account, you say, and his account, forget that who asked or who invited, but both of you have one thing consistent, which is you will sit in your car.
Yes.
Now, that's common cause between the two of you. You will sit in your car. Then why would he instruct you to come with? You've given them the details of the vehicle. You can see it. There's the truck with the container. You can see there's the truck. You have all the details. So you have nothing more to add to this story. So it doesn't make sense that he would instruct you to come with. But even on his version, it doesn't make sense. If everything is innocent, even on his version, it doesn't make sense that you would ask to go with. On both your versions, it doesn't make sense. The truth lies somewhere else. Why? How you end up there, not on these two versions. Because you've done your job. You've given them the information. You are an informer. You get told, sit in the car. There's no explanation at this point from you and Chief Mashaba. What purpose would you serve? You give us at least an idea. You say, I wanted to see that the drugs that I have identified, and I was curious. You attempt to give us an explanation as you're sitting there. And I suspect that is closer to the truth than anything. The question will be, what is the reason for that? But I think it's closer to the truth. You saying, I wanted to see that the drugs that I have identified are in fact taken, and they're taken by the correct people. That's closer to the truth than your curiosity story and him saying you asked and he said, well, I see nothing wrong with it. You want to say something?
Thank you, Commissioner Baloi. Commissioners, my issue, hence I albeit Advocate Musikiri has an apprehension that I'm tailor-making evidence. But my issue to raise this point was from the initial point of leaving Yellow Jersey Logistics. I assume after the fact that maybe the reason why Chief Mashaba might have wanted me was for this crime scene manager, because that's what stopped me from leaving.
No, the assumption is wrong, because one, that's not his evidence, but also his evidence is that he and Warrant Officer Mahano were sufficient. They were going to take those drugs, and their plan, I think he said they were either, one of them said we'll take them to Zonkizizwe, another one said we'd have taken them to Alberton. That was his original plan. But also, he said he didn't want anyone else to know about these drugs. And we had a lengthy debate with him about this bust. He didn't tell his superiors, he didn't tell anybody, because he doesn't trust people. You warned him that these drugs belong or involve some senior people in the SAPS, so he was quite careful who to involve. Your assumption, therefore, doesn't hold that he wanted to spread the word and involve other people. It was his, Mahano's operation, and yours. You were the only three people until the party was broken up by police officers and others arriving.
Commissioners, the reason why I would have, or rather, the reason why I called Chief Mashaba, amongst other things, at the last moment. Hence, I said because someone else was supposed to assemble a team to run the operation. Chief Mashaba had in the past alluded to the fact that he also works closely with the then provincial commissioner, and there are joint operations done and whatnot. Why would I say then don't tell anyone, knowing that there is someone that he obviously works closely with, who would be the provincial commissioner, and when other role players are called, for me it gives me confidence that maybe it might have went through the channels that he had already reiterated in the past. Because I have given information to him and it was said that no, execution was done through the provincial commissioner.
So you deny that you told him that these drugs that you were informing about, that these drugs belong to or involve senior members of law enforcement, and he should not share this information, or he should be careful who he shares it with. You deny that you said that to him.
So I do not deny that. What I deny is instructing or I would say giving him an instruction of not involving high-ranking officials. While at the back of my mind, I knew that there had been an operation that was conducted through a high-ranking official, which he seems to be conducting joint operations with. So the warning was limited to be careful who you disseminate the information to, because I knew in my mind that there is already rapport with him and the provincial commissioner at the time. So ideally, the first point of contact, the provincial commissioner would have been there also.
So if he said to us that you warned or cautioned him not to share the information with senior officers, because senior officials, because they have an interest in these drugs, that would be incorrect. You didn't say that to him.
You would have misunderstood me.
Or he would have been dishonest with us. Either he misunderstood you in what you conveyed, or he in fact understood you and lied to us to say that's what you said. One of it, either or. Could be any one of the two.
I'll limit it to saying he might have misunderstood me, because in my mind I knew that he was already working with the provincial commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nku, to be fair to you, when this line of questioning started, you were referred to the transcript. I appreciate that you don't have it in front of you. So there's a screen to your left where you will see that Ms. Ngube, the evidence leader, specifically asked Mr. Mashaba why was Mr. Nku going with you from Yellow Jersey to Aeroton? And then Mr. Chief Mashaba's answer follows from line 9. You'll see the 10 just on the left of the screen. So the line before that is line 9 of that page of the transcript. And the answer he gives is, well, Mr. Nku asked me that, will it be a problem for me to accompany you guys? Because other information that I gave to other people, I get to be told they were unsuccessful, or I get to be told stories or excuses. Do you see that?
Yes, indeed.
So the question that was asked was, that is not what happened. So he's either mistaken or being untruthful when he says that.
I would say he would be mistaken. Because I do not want.
Please speak up. You sort of. No. Let's not speak at the same time. You sort of whispered when you were looking at the screen. What were you saying?
Apologies, Chair. I wanted to say, I would say he would be mistaken. Because
Mistaken or untruthful?
Commissioner Tumelo, I would say he's mistaken either way, but I would say he's mistaken.
But you never asked. That's the bottom.
No, I didn't. I still maintain this, commissioners. If I really wanted to be part, then why not do it at the first instance? Why not be part because where I provided information, I'm certain that everything is there inside in Yellow Jersey. I should have been part from the onset. I should have went in with them. That's where I feel that if I needed or wanted to be part, I should have rather been part at Yellow Jersey, not after the fact at Scania, because I never had any prior discussions regarding Scania. I was just told after the fact when moving out that we are going to Aeroton.
That answer does not help you because there was no operation at Yellow Jersey. They went and they asked management to open the container. Management refused. So we don't know what would have happened if management had agreed that they should open the container. For all we know, they could have called you to come in. So it doesn't help you to say, well, the operation, had it happened there, this is what would have happened. We know it did not happen there. And the reasons given were that management at Yellow Jersey refused to allow them to open the container. But the point is, you were at Yellow Jersey, you briefed them, you are the one who told them to come there. They found you there. So there was no reason for them to drive with you to Yellow Jersey. You were already there waiting for them. Yes.
Apologies, commissioners. No, they did not find me there. They drove with me there. So I met with Chief Mashaba elsewhere. I believe it was at the filling station. So him and I drove towards Yellow Jersey. I sent him the location, but I guess he maybe didn't pay attention to the location because he wanted me to point him to Yellow Jersey. So we actually, him and I drove, and I parked at a distant company. And then from there, that's when Warrant Officer Mohana came after some time. But they did not find me at Yellow Jersey, Commissioner.
You may be correct. To be fair to you, I'm reading Warrant Officer Mohana's statement, and he says he found you there. So it may well be that you and Mashaba drove from somewhere else to there. So for now, maybe I'll limit myself to what Warrant Officer Mohana says, because he does say he found you there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We haven't asked you the question, and we should ask so that you tell us, why did you not go with them into Yellow Jersey?
Because for me, I provided information, and my role ought to have been limited to that, providing information and being out of sight. Because being where I parked, I believe I was completely out of sight, because it's a distant entity. no one from Yellow Jersey could have said that they spotted me. So I was confident that when they conduct the operations, they would be done void of my presence. And over and above that, I was of the sense that these are seasoned officials. They know what needs to fall and what not.
You did not leave. You did not leave. You gave them information and you parked. And you parked inside. You're remaining wherever you were. Clearly, you were not going to leave until they were done and finished. As you say, you thought it is with seasoned police officers who know what to do. But you didn't leave. You stayed on, and the question remains that why are you there? Why are you anywhere near this? I'm going to, it's only fair that I say this to you. I place this to you because so that you can comment about it. You see, in this explanation now, you say, I parked where the Yellow Jersey people would not see me, and I'm paraphrasing. They did not see me. None of them could say I was there. That has a certain significance, that it sounds like what informed your not going in and the choice of place where you parked your vehicle was so that you are not seen by the people at Yellow Jersey, where an operation, as far as you know, was supposed to be conducted, which raises the question, why did you not want to be seen? Why are you hiding? Because that's how you explain it. But together with that question, why are you hiding, it is, why in fact are you there in the first place, wherever you parked? Which takes me back to the direct question that was asked of you. What was your interest in following up on this? So, and that question remains unanswered. If it wasn't so that you make sure that you get paid, because this is your discovery, the question, as you've answered here, the way that you've dealt with it still remains unanswered. But coming back to this, that you didn't leave. You didn't say, here's the information, I've shown you the place. You are seasoned police officers, you do your thing. I'm satisfied that I've given you the information. You park where you're not seen. Why? Why are you there?
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Baloyi. Commissioners, I stayed out of the line of sight solely to maintain my anonymity. So, as to say, no one would know who was the source of information. It was not due to the fact that I did not want to be spotted by Yellow Jersey employees. But in any case, my presence at a scene of crime would be unwarranted. I myself still maintain I shouldn't have been in Erotin. My presence at Yellow Jersey, I was confident that I do not disturb any of the affairs of the operation that they are conducting inside. So the reason why I do not leave at that point in time, amongst other things, when Chief Mashaba left to Yellow Jersey along with Warrant Officer Mohana, I would say that The assertion was to verify the information. Why do I say this? Because Warrant Officer Mokhana left his car. They jumped into Chief Mashaba's car and then went inside. So for me, it didn't click to my mind to leave while there's a police car next to me. The only thing that I was waiting for would have been more police cars arriving, then it's a success. But it was at the stage where there's still verification taking place. That's how I took it. And for me to leave without verifying, I wouldn't have known whether or not, maybe Chief Mashaba would have pulled one of the previous stunts where no information was not followed. Oh,
They didn't trust him.
To an extent, not that I didn't trust him fully, but I wanted to verify. But I wanted, it would have been good to verify. It would have been good.
Thank you, Mr. Nku.
Thank you. Then it must hold that you are the one who's mistaken to say you were instructed. You've given all the reasons why you stayed, and you forgot to mention that you were instructed, like you were saying. In fact, you said to the chairperson earlier on this morning that you've lost trust, or Mr. Mashaba is unreliable. This morning, the chair asked you a question as to why did you go to Mfazi instead of Mashaba. So it ties up that you would have stayed for those reasons. In fact, what we have done, and I know you don't have the document, but we've pulled up the testimony of Warrant Officer Mahani there. And the upshot of it is that he also confirms what Chief Mashaba is saying. And I'll try to read from you from this distance. When you look at under Warrant Officer Mahani, paragraph 10, I'll go to the middle of that paragraph where he says, I questioned this. I asked Mr. Mashaba because Mr. Nku was now parked in the premises. He argued to me that Mr. Nku had a previous experience whereby he gave information to the police and I can't see the information was positive, but they said it was negative. So that accords with what Mr. Mashaba says and what Warrant Officer Mahane says, and together with your own reasons of your own misapprehension in the past, and what you told the chair in the morning that Mr. Mashaba is unreliable. You had all the reasons to stay compared to what you are telling us that, in fact, you were forced to stay. Do you want to comment?
Oh, thank you very much, Advocate Msikiri. Chair, I don't want to mistake my answer. Because earlier on, apologies, Advocate Msikiri, Commissioner Baloyi asked me about my reasons for leaving, and then after the fact, why did I stay behind? So my reasons for staying was not as a result of an instruction. Yeah, if I can clarify that. But my reasons for leaving was as a result of that instruction. Advocate Musikiri, what Chief Mashaba tells Warrant Officer Mokhana at the scene, I will concede to the aspect of previous disgruntlement because between him and I would be common cause. But it is not as a result of me expressing that while we were at Yellow Jersey, to say that, no, I need to go because you did this and that. Remember when Chair asked me earlier on to say how many law enforcement officers had you been giving information to. See, that assertion would have been correct if I'd been giving information to many law enforcement officers. But my information dispersal had been limited to mostly Chief Mashaba. So if there is a talk of law enforcement who have not been reliable in terms of upholding the information given, it would be limited to him. So to say that I've been given information elsewhere and people have been unreliable, that means the person is talking about himself. And for me, it wouldn't make sense.
I think the more you answer, the more you confuse yourself and confuse us. Just going back to that paragraph that you were dealing with, I just need clarity on two issues. During your exchange with Commissioner Baloyi, you then considered that you were not expecting to get paid, at least on this operation, or be rewarded. Do you remember that?
I do remember, Chair.
And that is still your version? That you did not expect to be rewarded on this particular...
Precisely on that operation. Sorry, Advocate Msikiri,
I'm saying it is still your version that you did not expect to get rewarded at this Eriton operation.
Yes, at that juncture, I wasn't expecting an immediate reward here.
Yes, and in fact, you said when you were engaging with Advocate Baloyi that you were still trying to establish yourself to get to some point, maybe in future, that you might get rewarded. Do you remember that?
Precisely.
Yes. Now, what I don't understand is that while you are there trying to make your way to maybe to build some profile to be paid as you would expect to get paid at some point, it doesn't make sense that what the facts point to us is that you have 60,000 rand with you. You first say that it was for traveling costs, but for now, what worries me is when you say, and that acquiring, so when you were asked about why do you have this money, and you said, part of the reason why you have it is that it's for, well, acquiring technical intel almost comes at a cost. Now, it doesn't make sense to me, and it's hopelessly contradictory for you to say you expected to build a profile to get paid, whereas at the same time you seem to be mentioning that part of the money you had, or that money you had, part of it, you were willing to spend it as part of collecting intel. Do you wish to comment?
Indeed, Advocate Msikiri, the money wasn't solely, or wasn't for the operation. Was money at my disposal, and relative to that, I am not an ordinary would-be informant, or someone who's trying hard to fight his way into subs. So for me, one is always willing to leverage resources to meet a certain objective, albeit it may be long term. But at that point in time, these are resources at one's disposal at that point in time. So because I've spent money risking marketing and whatnot. So I guess because it wasn't a substantial fee that I would think of in terms of acquiring information. I didn't deem it significant.
Just a moment, Mr. Msikiti. Mr. Nku, please, in your answers, try to be clear because you've given an answer and I have no idea what you just said. So you're saying too many things that are unrelated to what we are talking about. So this 60,000 that you had on the day, when you withdrew it from wherever you withdrew it, what was it for?
So the money was was petty cash which I used for my traveling activities.
On the day in question,
No,
you didn't have
it's
any
not
traveling activities. You
No,
were
but-
going to
No.
Yellow Jersey and then Aeroton. So I want you to be specific. You withdrew 60,000 rands or you took it from somewhere. As you were taking it and putting it in your car, what were you going to use it for?
Commissioner Tumelo, the 60,000 that I had, I didn't take it consciously and put it in the car to just travel. It's money that I had with. I don't know if I make sense.
I want to understand something. You referred to petty cash. Is the petty cash the 60,000 rand or is the petty cash something else?
The 60,000 rands.
Petty cash 60,000 rand for an individual.
No, not for an individual. That was
No,
not my
I
money.
say individual as in Mr. Nku.
Oh,
Mr. Nku, who is an individual, he calls 60,000 rand petty cash.
no, Chair. It was
Yes.
petty cash for the company. It was not my money. I was trying to say that.
Or petty cash for the company.
For the companies. So I would say I used company funds.
Then you must have a huge company.
So
Please finish your answer to
Yes.
Yes, Chair. So when one says petty cash, the company extended to multiple trucks and we had a whole supply chain operation. So keeping cash, not all filling stations and whatnot where one uses cards. Some you would use cash to once all the trucks have passed. You would, so I would say one took advantage of that.
I was interested in your use of petty cash. I intervened whilst Commissioner Tumelo was asking you questions.
Oh.
And of course, some of the questions I had prepared, it seems you are anticipating already because I seriously want to engage you on this thing about carrying cash at this day and age. Anyway.
Ms. Nku, for now, because we will get to that later. Are you saying this 60,000 rands is always in the car?
It is not always in the car,
Yes.
Commissioner Tumelo. However, given the purchases that one needed to or payments that one needed to make, at that point in time, I took advantage of the money being at my disposal.
Asking you. You're still not getting to what I'm asking you. Because that money, 60,000 rands, is not always in the car. At some point that day or the day before, You must have taken it somewhere in the safe at the company, or you withdrew it from the bank, and you took it with you and you put it in the car. I'm asking you specifically about during that period, what was your plan with it? Because you cannot say in general terms, filling stations, some of them don't take cash, therefore this and that. You run a truck business, therefore this and this. Unless you say to me, you were following a truck that day and you knew that that truck would require money to be used either for diesel or something else, and you took that money for that purpose. So I'm trying to understand, when you withdrew that money or you took it from a safe, what was your plan with it? What were you going to do with it? And I'm only limiting myself to that because you had chair. He still has other questions about that money.
Okay. Commissioner Baloi,
Kumal.
Oh, sorry. Apologies, Commissioner Baloi. Commissioner Khumalo, when I took possession of the 60,000 or the money, hence I said that I took advantage of the fact that it was at one's disposal. However, I utilized the funds for traveling because one, I did not know how long one would stay in the vicinity of Durban. And going there is not limited to following up on information relating to that a truck. One obviously had other business interests in infrastructural development and so forth. But it was solely on the basis that I wasn't sure how long the trip will take. But I thought it would be best to travel discreetly.
I must say, you still have not enlightened me, but for now I will leave it there and accept that it's pocket money that you took with you for your trip to Durban and back, and you didn't know how much you would need for your trip. Have I summarized it correctly?
It was cost for the trip.
Yes, for you specifically. You were not going to pay suppliers for the company or anything like that. It was money that you specifically were going to use for your trip to Durban.
Not necessarily, Commissioner Khumalo. It's money that, hence I say, I took advantage of. But when I need to make payments to suppliers and whatnot, it would be easy for me to do it wherever I am.
To pay them in cash, in 200 rand notes?
No, to make deposits.
Oh.
Not to pay in cash, to make deposits.
So you take cash to then make deposits. It does not make sense to me, not at this day and age. Why not make an EFT?
Well, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the business that one was running, we had a lot of clients paying in cash. That's why there would be cash.
Paying you in cash?
They would be paying, yes, the company in cash.
But that still doesn't answer the question. What you do once you get lots and lots of cash is to deposit the money and then to make electronic fund transfers. That's what makes practical sense, Mr. Nku. I may not have a business, but at least that I understand.
I fully concur, Chair. Hence, I have been expressing that one took advantage of the cash at one's disposal.
That still does not make sense. It still does not make sense. I mean, Why not deposit the money? You left for Durban on the 7th, is that correct? Is that correct?
I'm trying to.
We have texts here, and I think the chats support what I'm saying. You left for Durban on the 7th, is that correct?
I think that would be a fair assertion.
And you were in Durban on the 8th. Correct?
Yes, Chair.
And you came back from Durban, I think after roughly having been there for the day. Then you came back on the 8th, correct?
I came back on the 8th.
And
Yes,
you
Chair.
were here by early morning, which is the time you met Chief Mashaba and Warrant Officer Mohanu, correct?
Correct, Chair.
So are you saying you carried cash from Johannesburg to Durban and then back to Johannesburg with it? Is that what you are saying?
True, that, Chair.
Sorry?
That's true, Chair.
That's true.
Yes.
And was it 60,000 rand when you took it, or was it more, with you having used part of it perhaps along the way to Durban, in Durban, and back from Durban?
Yes, it was slightly.
Sorry. Had you taken 60,000 rand when you initially took it from wherever in Johannesburg? Did you take 60,000 rand?
No, it wasn't 60,000, Chair.
You took more?
Yes, it was more, Chair.
How much was it?
I think it would have been about 65,000.
And the 4 or 5, what did you use it for?
So I had booked I slept overnight on the 7th.
And
No,
yes,
okay. Let me just.
yes.
Yeah, but I had booked. I had booked and slept overnight.
You use it to pay at hotel or whatever.
Yes, Chair.
Sorry, let's not speak it. Or whatever accommodation facility. So you use the money for that.
Yes, Chair.
Anything else?
No, on the way I paid for the tolls and
Now,
petrol.
When you left Johannesburg, taking the 64 or 65,000 rand, what transactions did you expect to make along the way or in Durban, other than accommodation and tolls? What transactions were you expecting to make?
I wouldn't have expected to make transactions, but other than have a safety buffer of having money.
So without expecting to make any transactions whatsoever, you take a whole 64 or 65,000 rand cash with you in your car. Is that what you are telling us?
Chair, as
You are not expecting any transaction whatsoever, leaving aside now the hotel and tolls. You are expecting no other transaction whatsoever. You take a whole 64 or 65,000 rand cash, underlying cash. Yes.
okay, Chair, I did not know how long I'll stay.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not an issue of transactions, but I did not know how long I would have stayed in Durban.
So what did you expect might happen, which necessitated that you should carry 64,000 or 65,000 rand in cash?
Maybe my stay would have been longer.
I'm talking about what transactions would have been necessary or made necessary by a longer stay.
Chair, to consider that
Maybe an additional day at a hotel, perhaps that.
maybe 3-4 days. Apologies, Chair.
So an additional 2 or 3 days at a hotel, perhaps.
Yeah, but that would have been possible, Chair.
And why could you not have paid for that using your bank cards? Why must you carry 64 or 65,000 rand for that? Why could you not have paid or used your cards to pay for that?
Chair, as I've already stated, that one, I took money that ought to have been deposited.
Yes.
When I took the money, it's not some of the money. It's the sum total of what was to be deposited.
Sorry. That's not answering my question. My question is, you say, what could possibly have happened is that your stay could have been more than just 1 day. It could have been 2 or 3 days. My question is, why could you not have used your cards for that? So how you source the money and it being the sum total and so on is not answering my question. Why could you not have used your card for that? Your cards, actually, because I've seen several cards in the testimony or the documentation that we have here. You have several cards, bank cards. Please answer my question, not anything else.
Chair, I was coming to that question.
Yes,
that's why I was trying to build a premise.
Yes.
That with the sum total that I had, it's money that I still needed to deposit. Hence, I'm saying I took advantage of that. Because
Tell me,
when I did,
sorry, so we don't speak at the same time. I'm sorry for interrupting you. What advantage exactly? What advantage were you taking? You say you took advantage of something. What advantage were you taking?
The advantage is that I took money that from customers which I ought to have deposited.
Yes.
So I cannot leave some and take some. That money needs to be deposited. So I traveled with the whole sum total of it. And took advantage of it. Hence I'm saying I should have left the money behind or deposited it.
I'm sorry, please repeat. We spoke at the same time.
I'm saying I should have left the money behind or deposited it. It needed to be deposited. So I just took advantage of it so that whenever, say on that money I would have spent 20,000 or 15,000, then I would at a later stage have to replace it, but then I need to deposit it.
And do you have people working under you, or did you at the time have people that you could have sent to go deposit the money? I'm sure you had.
I did, Chair.
I don't get this advantage that you are talking about. You could and should have sent people to deposit the money, and then as for yourself, with your Durban trip, you could then have used your cards. This still doesn't make sense to me. I'm yet to come to, okay, let me not anticipate that question because you'll start thinking about it. So that doesn't make sense to me. Why not send people to deposit their money and then you go to Durban and use your cards to pay?
Not everyone had access to my safes.
Sorry?
Not everyone had access to the safe.
I asked you whether you did not have someone you could have sent to go deposit the money, and I thought you said you could, or not?
But I would have had to take the money and give them before I leave.
What stopped you from doing that?
Hence I said, Chair, I took advantage.
No. That's not my question. What stopped you from taking the money out of the safe, giving it to somebody to go and deposit it? What stopped you from doing that?
Nothing stopped me, Chair.
Do you accept that it's very risky to travel with lots and lots of cash?
I accept.
Anybody would accept that.
Accept.
You accept it?
Accept it, Chair.
So make me understand this advantage in the face of the risks attendant to carrying that much cash with you. Make me understand this advantage that you took. Simply doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Nku.
Chair, the advantage relates to me traveling discreetly.
Traveling?
Discreetly.
What on earth does that mean?
Chair, if I, because part of my trip was to acquire information. Traveling discreetly means that along the route, I wouldn't be using my bank cards.
But who had any idea about you going to source the information? Who would have cared about your use of your bank cards anywhere in the country? Who would have cared about that?
Chair, I wouldn't know because
No. Your fears, beliefs, etc., must be based on fact. Who would have known about you going to Durban, you going to source whatever information in Durban, and therefore have been concerned about your use of your cards, or been interested in the use of your cards in Durban? Tell me something that's based on fact.
Chair, the people whose information I'm following up on have got relationships with high-ranking officials. Anyone snooping around, it definitely does. There's exposure.
But how many people go to Durban and use their bank cards? How many people?
Granted, Chair, a lot of people do go to Durban and use their bank cards.
Then answer my previous question, because that's why your responses do not make sense.
Chair, I still maintain that when following up on information, my mindset is that be as discreet as possible.
Doesn't make sense to me. I will leave it at that for now.
Can I just make a point? This is important, Mr. Nku, because at a scene of a major drug bust of drugs worth hundreds of millions of rands, when unexplained amounts of cash are found there, questions have to be asked and certain inferences have to be drawn. And you must give us an innocent explanation that explains the presence of that cash there. And the explanation you've given me so far, I speak for myself, not for the chair, does not make sense. And I will leave it there for now.
Okay,
But you understand why these questions are being asked. I know you are legally represented, and to be fair to you, your lawyers would probably have advised you, but this question is being asked in that context, so that you understand.
You see, in fairness to you, I'm not saying this is an inference that we as a commission will draw. We are far from that at this stage. I do not know what in the end we will decide and what inferences we will draw. But at the lowest level of possibilities, some may think you had that much cash to pay out those who had assisted in getting these drugs out of the system and taking them to whatever destination. I'm saying at the lowest. I'm not at all talking probabilities, nor am I even saying that that's an inference that we will draw in the end. So I'm just saying that is why we are questioning you as much as we are doing around carrying this much cash. Something that simply does not make sense and on which you have not given a cogent explanation. That's why.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I do gather that it is extremely difficult to understand as to why would one travel with such an exuberant amount of cash. Hence, I've been trying to explain that it was as a result of me taking advantage of the cash at the disposal of the company. It might have been that one needed not to travel to KZN. It might have been utilizing cash for any other obligation or need that one had, but one took money that they were not supposed to take. That's what I'm trying to express. That granted, I had people, or I should have had people, to go make the deposits, but because I did not know the need of my travel costs, it might have as well been that I go to Devon and immediately deposit the money, or I go to Devon and deplete all of it. Which is, hence I say, which is funds that I shouldn't have taken or I shouldn't have utilized. To that tune, I do concede that wasn't my money to take. I'm not saying it, when I say petty cash, it wasn't my money, Chair. It was money belonging to the company, which I took advantage of because my thought process was, I do not know how much I'll need. Maybe I might need to stay for a week. I'm not going to utilize my bank card. I might as well utilize this and then deposit the rest. Because initially, in any case, the people who I ended up calling, or the person who I ended up calling on the 8th, wasn't the one who was supposed to have conducted that operation. In fact, it might have been there that I didn't need to go to Devon if the person that I had expected to conduct it had answered me at the time. I solely went there because of not getting any response. I thought we are this far with information, so let me just go and follow it up. But I discovered later on what was the reason.
Perhaps lastly on this, I think I asked you more than once as to what you were going to use the money for, and you said accommodation and tolls. And it could have been more if you stayed longer, maybe 2 or 3 nights, it would have been more. But the items themselves were just accommodation and tolls. And I will be surprised if you were to want to add to that. And in fact, I will probably not believe it, because I asked you more than once and you said just accommodation, initially just the 1 day, and you said possibly I might have stayed longer, therefore 2 or 3 additional nights, and then tolls. So that's the sum total of what you would have used the money for. Now, how much could you possibly ever have had to pay for those items? I don't know, maybe you stay at the most exclusive hotels in South Africa, so, but how much could you possibly ever have had to spend? But at least we do have an idea that you spent around 4,000 and 5,000, so that's sort of a ballpark figure.
For one night, Chair, it was around about less than 5,000 rand. Unless I would have stayed at this hotel that
As I say,
would
we
have taken
already
all
know.
that money in one night.
As I say, we already know that it was around that amount because you said you took about 64 to 65,000. So all in all, because you were found with 60,000, you had spent 4 or 5,000. So we know that. That's what, yeah. So what would have been additional would have been another 4 plus another 4 if it went up to 3 nights, or 5 plus another 5 if it went up to 3 nights. So why carry 64, 65,000 rand for those 3 nights at the most and tolls?
Chair, I still reiterate and concede to this fact that
You see, I'm not repeating the questions I asked you. Earlier, I was just querying you on the very idea of carrying 64 or 65,000 rand in general terms. Now I'm being specific as to the expected expenses. So if that was all that was to be spent, why take 64 or 65,000 rand? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair, we are talking about the 5,000 after the fact. Going there, at the time I did not know the type of hotel that I'd be accommodated in. There are much more expensive hotels in the area.
That's exactly why I said I don't know the types of hotels you stay in. Please continue.
There are much more expensive hotels in the area, so I wouldn't have limited myself. But it wasn't pre-planned. It was a spur of a moment because cash was at one's disposal. I did not take a subconscious decision of taking the total sum, but just taking some, I needed to take all of it, so that I eventually needed to make a deposit.
So you leave Johannesburg not having made a booking or a reservation. You drive all the way to Durban, and even along the way, you do not make a reservation. So you'll basically see how much you spend when you when you arrive in Durban.
Chair, sometimes it's cheaper to do things that way. It gets to be cheaper.
All right, I will. Yes.
Mr. Nku, a different aspect or another aspect of this discussion is you had very specific information about these drugs or this consignment. You knew the container number. You knew exactly what you are looking for, or what Mashaba and whoever else even this senior official, but you knew what the consignment is supposed to be. So you would have known when that ship left, that vessel left Brazil. I think it's Brazil. I think we've been told that. So you had all of that detail. It's difficult to see a situation where you didn't know how long you would be in Durban, because you had all the information. You know how the harbor system works. That's why you were able to talk about certain containers being prioritized, a topic that we said we would come back to. But clearly you know something about the workings at port, but you also have this full detail about this. I can't see how you would not have had an idea how long you're going to be there. In your explanation of why you had that much money, surely you did have an idea how long you could be there. You're going to be there because you have all of this information.
Commissioner Baloyi, I did not have the specifically when one refers to the container number in question. I did not have that up until the very end, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not the the 8th, it would be the 7th. It was up until the very end. I did not, I knew that there would be, okay, my intel was that there would be 11 containers. But obviously, because there are some that would need following up on. Hence, I say one checks which ones are prioritized.
Yes.
For that. That's at that point.
Yes. Forget the container number. You knew the vessel has left Brazil. You knew it's docking. Otherwise, you're going there on the 7th and not on the 2nd or on the 20th of July. Doesn't make sense. So you had enough information to know that it has, and it must be so, that you knew it has left Brazil. You knew it is expected to dock at on a certain date. So you have that kind of information. But your information, in fact, was as specific. Ultimately, information is as specific as there are drugs, and it is so much of it. And I'm saying on a composite of all of that evidence, that which is known, it's difficult to see a situation where you leave Johannesburg on the 7th or wherever you are leaving from on the 7th, and you didn't leave 5 days earlier, you don't leave 5 days later, that you didn't know how long you would spend in Durban. It just defies how things work, the logic of it. Otherwise, you should have left on the 1st of July. Or you should have left on the 20th of July. So you did have an idea how long you're going to be there because you had sufficient information.
Yeah.
You may, sorry.
Yes. Thank you very much, Commissioner Baloyi. I did have information. However, it wasn't sufficiently narrowed down enough. So I wouldn't have known. Say, for instance, there are 5,000. Apologies. There are 5,000 or 2,000 containers that the vessel will be docking with. How long or which ones are prioritized, particularly in the company in question. So my stay there would either be shortened or extended on the basis of the information that I keep receiving. But I did not have conclusive information to warrant me to stay for a day or two, or 3 or 4. The information that I had didn't enable me to take that decision.
Right. Let me raise a second issue about this money issue and payments. I understood you earlier in your evidence to say that part of what you have to do when you gather information is you pay for it. Sometimes you have to pay for it. Did I hear you correctly? And I'm not saying from the 60,000 necessarily. The concept itself that you have to pay sometimes to get information.
It does happen.
It does
yes.
happen, yes. Then my question is, you are not a registered informant. What is your interest to spend your money to pay people to give you information that you then say you give to law enforcement? What's your interest in that? What do you stand to gain to the point that you're prepared to spend your own money to get information?
If I may. I thought I clarified that earlier on, Commissioner Balui. I said that me being a source of information, I'm not restricted to the information that I would be providing. Obviously, over and above that, I'm someone who's in business, and one understands leveraging resources for future returns. Because I was still on this journey of getting remunerated at some point, and the type of information or intel that I'm able to provide, whatever costs in resources that I incur, I'll make up in many folds in the future on the basis of the information that I'm able to provide.
I'm speaking specifically about you spending on intelligence that's about crime fighting or helping law enforcement. So I'm speaking to that specifically. That what do you stand to gain that you spend your money to assist law enforcement? What do you stand to gain there? Don't tell me about your businesses and information that you get that you will leverage for your businesses. I'm not asking that kind of question. I'm asking specifically, you spend money to get information according to you, such as, let's say, this kind of information, where drugs, you get to know there are drugs that are coming in, and you tell Chief Mashaba, let's say. I'm not saying that's what happened here, you spent money that way, but I'm talking about those kind of facts, that what's in it for you, that you, an ordinary member of the public, a successful businessman by account of what we have here, what do you stand to gain? You can answer.
Okay. So maybe one didn't clarify that point. Commissioner Balui, when I'm saying one leveraging one's resources, I mean that, remember, I'm still someone who's in process of, at the later stage, getting remunerated or being uptaken as a source within SAPS or in law enforcement agency who would be a paid source. So the costs that one incurs along the way would be remunerated or would be equalized at a much later stage. It's leveraging one's current resources for future gains.
Why do you want to be part of this? As remember said to you, you're a very successful businessman by all accounts, and we will still get to that. Why do you want to be an informant? And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who's been registered as an informant. That should never be misunderstood. I have absolutely no idea what people get paid for this kind of thing. But it doesn't make sense to me that someone with a kind of profile business-wise, that the impression is created by the evidence that we will still go through, that you would want to be an informant, a registered informant, and that gets paid. What's your interest in that? Why don't you just carry on giving them information as it comes to you? But you are so invested in it that you travel all the way to Durban on this one occasion. You are prepared to stay however number of days. You don't know how long it's going to be. You are prepared to do that. You tell us you are even prepared to pay for that information. There's something that doesn't fit in with that kind of effort and what you will get paid, wanting to be registered as an informant and get paid for someone who doesn't seem to need it. Something doesn't square up. If your interest is to assist law enforcement, you don't need to be registered. You don't need to be paying. When it comes to you, you just pass it on. But you want to be registered as an informant, and then eventually you'll be paid for it. Make it make sense to me. You may answer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Valui. I would like to place this. The type of information that one is able to get access to, I would say it's high stakes information. Some to an extent of information relating to information of national importance. So for me, it's not about simply being an informant, but putting the information that I'm able to acquire to good use, obviously with protection, because when one gives information as a businessman or as an ordinary citizen, one is not protected. That information may come back and haunt you. But if one is an official informant, any information that one has access to, one is at the very least protected in terms of how information is acquired, or to what reason that information is acquired for. So the interest is not limited to financial gains. For me, I view it as there had been a plethora of opportunities that would even extend to when proper rapport is built, selling tech to our law enforcement. Tech that one knows would be able to help long term.
Right. I'll leave it here. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Nku, I want you to complete this picture, and it's really more for your benefit than for our benefit. The money issue. When you left Johannesburg for Durban on the 7th of July, 2021, what was the reason for you going there and for coming back? I'm still trying to make sense of how much money you had, how much money you needed, and all of that. So when you left Johannesburg for Durban, what was the reason for that? And also, when you left Durban to come back to Johannesburg, what was the reason for that?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Baloi. So, apologies. Hey, Commissioner, apologies. Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. Apologies, Commissioner Baloi. Thank you very much, Commissioner Khumalo.
He's the closest to the witnesses, so
That's
she
the
gets blamed for
explanation.
everything.
No, as a mother, she's here. Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. So when I left from Joburg to Durban, I wouldn't say it was for one reason, but one of the main reasons was one of my sources, or my source that side, did not want to exchange information on any telephonic platform. So, the secondary reason was the person that I'd been calling throughout was no longer picking up my calls. So I was left to follow up on the information on my own.
Was there? So your reason for leaving Johannesburg to go to Durban was related to this very container that we were discussing. The source was the source that related to this container.
Not specifically this container. It was containers,
Yes, containers, including this one.
including that one.
So your reason for leaving Johannesburg and going to Durban was because you wanted to go see your source or contact your source or communicate with your source in relation to containers, including this one.
Precisely.
And then your reason for
So my reason for coming back was upon identifying this specific container, because it was identified on the 8th.
So you were now interested in this container, and because it was leaving Durban and coming to Johannesburg, that was your reason for leaving Durban.
Not necessarily interested. That is one that I had conclusive details on, information on, that I can pass something that I would deem as actionable intel.
So you were no longer interested in the other containers because you had intel, verified intel in relation to this one container. Your job in Durban was done. You could come back to Johannesburg.
I would say that to an extent.
Yes. Now, Commissioner Baloyi's question, which you may have missed. What benefit is there for you? I mean, all you're going to do with this information is to give it to the police. They will do whatever they want with it. For you to risk 60,000 of your company's own money, traveling on our roads is risky. You risk traveling. You risk people you say are dangerous. That's why you did not want to use your card. You risk all of that. You risk going to Durban, and you risk coming back because the information relating to this one container has now been verified, and you can pass on the information to the police. There was nothing in it for you, except maybe future benefits at a later stage once you are registered as a source. But for the purposes of you traveling to Durban, identifying the container and coming back, the only benefit to you was that the information will be verified and you will pass it on to the police.
I did not need to travel to Durban initially, Commissioner Tumelo.
Let's assume you did. I know you may not have needed to initially, but you did and you came back. And the only benefit for you would have been that the information is positive. You can pass it on to the police, and that's it.
I would say that long term there would be benefit.
But you did not know that for sure.
Yes, it wasn't definitive. However, considering the pedigree of the person who was supposed to have conducted the operation, I was certain that at least now you'd have instantly built rapport. Then I was now left with having to give the information to Chief Mashaba. But initially, given the pedigree, I was certain that you'd have certainly built, coming with information of this magnitude, then it would have placed me somewhere.
Thank you. So, sorry. All three mics were on at the same time. I'm wrapping up. So my interest in asking these questions was really to try to understand your interest in this container and also the money issue. So,
Mr. Nku, at the time, did you even know how much informers or informants were paid by the police? I heard don't go to the high stakes information and so on that you dealt with when Commissioner Baloyi engaged you. Don't go there. I've heard that. I just want to know, did you know at the time how much informers or informants were paid?
Relatively to successes, the type of success. I think the Chief Mashaba had told me that informers would get 1.5% of a major success if it's in the form of a part. That's why usually I would give him information relating to illicit cigarettes.
And you say 1% or whatever the percentage is.
1.5% of
1.5%.
Of the total value.
You said in relation to major successes, did you say?
Yes.
And in relation to other successes?
For me, major success would be anything in the form of a pass. That's why generally I would give him information relating to illicit cigarettes.
What I want to understand is when you seem to put an emphasis on major successes, does it mean for something else the rate was different?
We never had that discussion. The discussion was if there is a success. There's a major success.
Oh, so you were not interested in anything else. You were interested in major successes. That was your focus.
I had no way of quantifying it, Chair. I wouldn't say my only interest was a major success. For me, it would be relative. Because, for instance, if I give information pertaining to a truck, okay, let's give the other instance where I gave information pertaining to large consignment of pack. I wouldn't deem it a major success, but it is a significant success.
All right.
Because of the chain that it might lead to.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say you got to know Chief Mashaba in 2019 or not?
It's around about 2019.
2019.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And did you start giving him information from 2019?
Indeed, Chair.
Sorry?
Indeed, Chair.
And you say your aim was eventually to be accepted as an informer who would be registered, or informant who would be registered by SAPS. Now, it's 2 years from 2019 to 2021. What sort of time frame were you looking at to finally be registered as this informant?
I initially thought it was an easy thing. You provide information once you've proven that you are providing reliable information, then it would be one would be uptaken or considered. But it took way longer, and I started having doubts. That's why I say there was a point where I started having doubts.
That's not answering my question. You are telling me about how long it took and apparently never eventuated. What I want to know is, what did you expect it? How long did you expect it to take for you to eventually be accepted as an informant? Surely, I mean, you Commissioner, was it Commissioner Tumelo Nku now? I'm not sure, who said that, we've seen what type of person you are, and you sound to me as a very intelligent person. So surely you would have had some outer limits in your mind as to what you were looking at. What sort of time limit were you looking at for you to be accepted eventually as an informant?
So, Chair, I personally didn't have a time frame in mind, but rather what was more important was building rapport.
Yes.
What was more critical for me was building rapport, because the more reliable the information you provide, the more rapport you build. Even if it takes two years, by the time eventually in those 2 years, one gets uptaken, then one is actually able to strike many birds with one stone, because as I've been alluding to the fact that there is the tech side of possibilities. There are system mock-ups that one and his team had been working on building. So with proper rapport, one is able to say that, look, you have seen my intel works, my systems, the way I acquire intelligence works. So let me give you a glimpse of how I acquire that information, and it's through certain technologies. And then eventually one is able to make a pitch. Long term, there would be much more beneficial relationships in terms of being that informant and also providing the technology to aid.
You say that it proved to take quite a long time before there could be an uptake, correct?
True that.
Did you yourself take any positive steps for you to be taken or accepted as an informant? If so, what positive steps did you take? Because I doubt that it would just happen. Maybe it could have, but maybe not. You know, did you yourself take any positive steps?
Indeed, Chair.
I'm not talking about providing information. Mm-hmm. So you are providing information with the view to ultimately being taken. So what I'm asking you now, there you are giving information. Did you then at some point take positive steps? Now you see how, or the extent to which I am performing. Will you now formally accept me as an informant? Did you take any such formal steps, positive steps?
We've had those engagements, Chair. We've had those engagements. Though I feel that it was always a come back tomorrow story.
Who did you?
I engaged with Chief Mashaba regarding that.
Does Chief Mashaba, or did he take informants in a formal sense? Did he? Was he a person placed, to take people as informants?
But Chair, remember when I started reading my statement, I had stated that please consider when we move as a premise my introduction to Chief Mashaba. At the back of my mind, he was always someone who would be capable because of proximities. Because if he's in close cycles of DPCI, that means he could easily facilitate that. I could not go to people that I do not know.
I'm asking about him. So basically, does that response mean that you knew that he could not himself accept you as an informant?
No, I didn't know.
You did not know?
Yeah, I did not know.
If you did not know, what is this you are saying about proximity, DPCI, and so on, then what do you mean by that? Because if you did not know, I assume that you would have believed that he could take you, he himself And if you so believed, then it makes no sense to you to refer to his proximity to DPCI and whoever else.
No, I see this in the light of what I know now, maybe, Chair.
But it would have been no relevance to you at the time because I'm engaging you about what you knew at the time. So what you know now doesn't make sense to what I'm engaging you about. Do you accept that?
I do accept, Chair. Back then, because of the introduction, I would have thought or believed for that to be a fact, that I could be taken in.
And you knew that he was a traffic officer?
He was never introduced as a traffic officer.
And are you saying that at no stage did you ever get to know that he was a traffic officer? Back then, not now, back then.
No.
You never got to know that he was a traffic officer?
No, Chair.
Do you know now?
Yes, I know now.
Since when have you known?
I knew when we got arrested.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Nku, we know from your evidence, we now know that there was no money issue about you staying another night in Durban. You went to Durban, you were there for one night. You had enough money, it's not the reason you came back. But we also know from your evidence earlier that you became aware that this truck was not stopping on the way. You explained he never stopped at weigh bridges. You own trucks, so you know that's what happens with trucks, and this man wasn't stopping. Am I right in that recapturing of your evidence? Right? I'm
Yes,
correct. Yes. Now, can you explain, and your interest, maybe before I ask you to come to explain, your intel had told you there were trucks, there were containers, not just one container. There were containers of interest to you, not just the one. Mm-hmm. You verify at some point at least the one, and I think you had that conversation with Commissioner Tumelo that, well, you forgot about the other ones, so you decided you're no longer interested, and you focused on this one container. Can you just explain why did you drive up to Gauteng with that truck? Why did you not relay this information? Because now you know the truck that is carrying this, and we have seen from pictures, it has the name of the company by the door. We know the details, so you have that information. Why did you not convey that information instead of driving and basically trailing this truck? Because that's the only way you could have known that he didn't stop at weigh bridges. It's because you were keeping an eye on this truck. Why did you do that? Yes, you may answer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Baloi. I think for me it would have been easier if I had known the details of the truck while it was still in KZN. The reason why I say that it had crossed through these weigh bridges is because the truck details themselves, I got them later on the day. It had departed. I knew that there was prioritization, but when it departed, I did not know that. I had not gotten the details at that point. So that's the reason why eventually I make confirmations this side, and I called Chief Mashaba.
Sorry, explain that again. You were at the harbour, no?
No, I wasn't.
How did you know there was prioritization of containers? And that then maybe takes me to that question that I had said I would like to hear you explain. How did you become aware that there are certain containers that are being prioritized?
It was through my sources. Chair.
These are
And
sources. Sorry, say that again.
So it was through my sources who have access.
So these are people who work there with this stuff, with containers and the movement of containers. It has to be somebody, at least that's how I think about it. That kind of information has to come from somebody who has insight into what is happening in the moment. Trucks are being prioritized either because they can see it on the system or they can see it physically with their naked eye, for them to be able to tell you that kind of information. Which one is it?
Commissioner, I would please limit it to say I had sources for fear of self-incrimination in relating to access to information.
No, I'm not asking you to give us a name.
Okay.
I'm not. If you said to me Temba Koza, it wouldn't matter to me. I don't know Temba Koza. I'm asking how the system worked.
Okay.
You say you by approximately so much, certain containers were identified as being prioritized for transportation.
Mm-hmm.
You either saw that, and that was my assumption when I asked you the question much earlier in the day. I thought you would have said, I happen to be there because I've been given this intel. So I happened to be there because I was watching to see what's happening. But now that doesn't seem to be the answer. Or if it is the answer, you can say that. And so it's either you were there, you observed it, or somebody else observed it and gave you that information, or they work off the system, whether it's Transnet or whoever is responsible at that point to be able to say these are being prioritized. So I'm asking what in fact is who gives you that kind of information? Is it someone who's seeing it, someone who's working with it, or is it you who is seeing it?
Someone who has access to the system.
Someone who works with the system. Okay, is the person that gives you that information. And at that point, where are you?
At that point, I'm in the Devon area.
You're in Devon.
Yes, Commissioner.
And someone else tells you the truck on which this container has been put. At which point do they tell you? It has to be a point before you leave.
Yes,
Devon, that you get told, because otherwise, where are you going if you don't know? Right?
It was. I believe it was much later on the day.
So you stayed stationary in Devon until you were told that the truck on which this container is truck so and so.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, so you get the details there. Mm-hmm. At that point, then my question still arises. Why do you not then at that point give the information to Chief Mashaba? Because you are in Devon, he's going to meet the truck. Why did you consider it necessary to track and follow this truck? Because there will be evidence that shows, let me say it to you, there will be evidence that shows that on the 8th, you traveled all the way to from Devon to Johannesburg or to Alberton. So I asked the question with that kind of information.
So, Commissioner, I gave the preliminary information. Albeit not the truck details, but I gave Chief Mashaba the information, and his remark was make sure that it's correct.
Yes, but when he says make sure it's correct, he can't be saying to you open the container because he knows you're not going to do that.
100%.
So whatever he meant doesn't explain why you follow the truck. You have the details of the truck, is the point I'm making. That now you've been told, and you've just said you remained stationary in Devon, and then you got this information, and you say you relayed it. It was preliminary. But what I'm putting to you is, but at that point, you know the detail. You know it's truck so-and-so, New Jersey, Yellow Jersey rather. Truck so-and-so, Yellow Jersey. It's headed for Johannesburg. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense why you go to Johannesburg. So you would have been told it is headed for Johannesburg. Why are you following the truck? Why is it not enough? In accordance with our earlier conversation where you've given the information, somebody else, law enforcement, Chief Mashaba will execute it in Johannesburg. And by the way, you have other trucks, the other containers, you tell us, that had been flagged as potentially containing illicit stuff. So it seems to me that if sensible decisions were being made, you'd have been to stay to see what happens with the other containers and then relay the information to somebody else to execute. But instead, you trail this truck all the way to Johannesburg. Explain that which does not make sense.
Okay, Commissioner Baloyi, I left Devon, I think it was around about the time when the truck reached its destination. So I wouldn't consider trailing the truck. However, one considers this aspect that all the containers were going to one destination. So it's either disregard this one and say that no, Chief Mashaba will follow it. I'm going to give information on others. But remember, at the time, the only law enforcement officer that I know is him and the general. I needed to also ask him then to say that, Chief, what do we do with this other information?
Yes. And why didn't you? Why didn't you give him this information about the Yellow Jersey truck and then say to him, there are other trucks, give me other people that I can speak to because you will be occupied with that one consignment. He would be occupied with that one operation. Why didn't you, if indeed there were other trucks? If there were other containers, sorry, not trucks. Yes.
Yes. Commissioners, relating to the other containers, I did not know at what point their pickups would have been. But I knew definitively.
You had enough money to stay in Devon.
I in terms of following information, I had confidence definitively based on the travel patterns of that truck that had already left. It's somewhat a truck that one was much more confident as opposed to taking a chance because remember there were 11 containers. So either one of those, even on the other two, because they hadn't been collected yet. This one had been collected.
Okay. When did you find out about the travel pattern of this truck? Because you say you left Devon after it had arrived in Johannesburg. When did you find out that how it traveled and that it is now in Johannesburg?
It could have been, I think, around about just before I called Chief Mashaba. Around about later on, around 7:30.
Yeah. So you had someone else who gave you this information because you're in Durban, remember?
Yes,
You're in Durban,
yes.
you're not trailing the truck.
Yes.
It arrives in Johannesburg.
Yes.
So you had somebody else who tells you this is how that truck has traveled. By the way, when Chief Mashaba testified, he said he didn't have full information when he had the first conversation with you, and it is the following morning, I think, when you met, that you gave him the full details of what it is. So he couldn't have been your source on the 8th that the truck has arrived in Johannesburg. So you had somebody else who was looking at this truck.
I had another person who, another source of information relating to the destination.
As in what? As in a source telling you the truck will be going to Johannesburg. Is that what you mean? I'm trying to understand what you mean.
Not necessarily the truck would be going to Johannesburg. The truck would be coming to Yellow Jersey.
Yes, but you report to the suspicion about, or you confirm this must be the right container and right truck because of how it traveled, its travel pattern. And I want to understand that someone must be telling you that, must be telling you this truck did not stop at Way Bridges. This truck is now in Johannesburg. So when I say someone was watching this truck and giving you this information, it's because Mashaba can't tell you that. Chief Mashaba couldn't tell you that it didn't stop at Way Bridges. He knows nothing about it. And as I recall his evidence and the evidence leaders and my fellow commissioners will correct me if I'm wrong, that on the 8th, Chief Mashaba didn't have this detail. Where is the truck? Where has it landed? That's why you needed to meet. You sent him a place, a pin, and you had to meet with him and show him where the truck is. So he could not have been your source. Someone else told you this truck did not stop at Way Bridges. And I'm saying it seems to me it has at that point to be somebody who is following this truck to know that it didn't stop at Way Bridges at all, at any Way Bridge. And then someone must be able to tell you that Yellow Jersey truck with registration so-and-so arrived at Yellow Jersey depot, I think that's what it is, and it arrived at this time or on this date. You have to have eyes that are telling you that. And my question, that's what I'm asking you. So you obviously had somebody else. If it's not you, somebody else told you this information.
Chair, let me just say, I had sources through my source in Durban. I had sources in the Yellow Jersey company. That's how it got reiterated that when a truck travels in this manner, usually there's definitely something.
So it's Yellow Jersey, it's your source in Yellow Jersey that tells you the truck arrived at this time, but they also tell you it means it didn't stop at Way Bridges.
Precisely, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Can we, after a 5-minute break, continue until 6 p.m.?
Yes, Chair, that would be appropriate.
Mr. I was including you in the question, Mr. Du Plessis. Continue just for 5 minutes and then be back and continue until 6 p.m.
Yes.
That's a Jane, and come back at 25 to.
We're ready to resume.
To mention this.
Yes, Mr. Musigedi.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Nku, perhaps we can wrap up the topic on the reasons why you had the 60,000 cash on you. And I still persist that you keep on giving contradictory reasons for various questions that I put to you. And I've noted now on the reasons through your engagement with the commissioners as to why you would have that amount with you. On your statements, at least, you had mentioned it was part of the travel costs and part of it could have been used for paying for Intel. You remember that?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, and then later on now you added a new one. You said, no, this was a petty cash. You remember that as well? You remember mentioning that the money could have been, it was a petty cash.
No, from that's not addition, Advocate Musikidi. It's where the money is coming from.
Yes, then if it comes from a petty cash, it's a petty cash.
Yes.
Yes. And then later on, again, when you engaged further, you said, no. That amount, actually, it's the entire amount that you received through your clients who were paying you in cash. You remember that as well?
It's one and the same thing as I believe. Yeah.
It's not completely different. When you receive petty cash, you account differently for it from taking money for travel costs. They are completely different amounts. But you remember now say that actually it was the entire amount that was supposed to be put in a safe. And in fact, you said, well, you acknowledge that you should have or could have banked it or saved it.
Maybe I need to clarify or qualify it, Advocate Musikidi, that monies received through clients in a form of cash payment can be registered as petty cash.
Yes.
Because it's monies that are hard cash as opposed to funds which are transmitted through transfers.
Yes, I'm saying to you, you added to say later on it was the entire payment that you should have banked.
So
you said that, remember?
Please repeat yourself.
You said that amount was actually the entire amount that you have received as payment.
Yes.
And then I think last you were also asked and you said, well, the reason why I had that money, I think you said you wanted to be discreet so that you don't use your bank card and you pay by cash so that you keep I think you always said no footprints when you do this kind of work, just to remain discreet. Remember you said that?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if we were to look at your bank account and find that you've actually not telling the truth because you've been swiping that card going to Devon, that means it's not true that amount was, you had that amount because you wanted to remain discreet. What would you say?
You'd be surprised. On the date in question?
On the days in question, yes.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
Please, no.
Okay.
Can you please repeat the answer? Don't whisper.
Okay,
Because the transcription must capture what you are saying.
Okay, no, I'd be surprised. Granted.
Okay, well, let's get surprised, then it's fine. Chair, let's go to, is this CJC 330.1. It's 330.1. CJC 330.1. Yes. And we go to page, do you have the file, Mr. Nku? Yes, let's go to page 323. Are you there?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, you see on top left. Please don't flag this. On top left, it's your name, Mr. Tumelo Nku. You confirm that, and your address. Can you confirm that?
Wait.
On your top right,
Yes, sir.
you confirm that's a bank statement. What you're looking at, FNB bank statement.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and then if you go further down, it says FNB Fusion Private Wealth Account, and it gives an account number there, starting with a 6 and ending with a 1. You see that?
It will be page 24.
No, we are still on 323.
323.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yes, sir.
Do you confirm that at least that seems to be your bank statement?
Yes, I do.
Yes, and then you'll see that from the account number, when you go 1, 2, 3 lines down, the third and the fourth line, it says statement period 21st of June 2021 to 21 July 2021. You see that?
I see that.
Yes. Now, if you flip over at page 324, you will see the transactions there. On the left, you will see there's dates there. And I'm not pitching this any higher to say if this bank statement is correct. You will see that from the 7th, well, all the 7th of July, you will see that there's different toll gates there. Do you see those toll gates?
From the 7th.
Yes, where the card was used. And if you go further down, you will see that, on the further right, that will be the amounts that were used on that account.
Don't you want to refer to amounts? On such and such a date, there's a debit for a toll gate in X amount, and toll gates have names. Maybe if the name of I do see De Hoek, for example, De Hoek Toll Plaza.
Yes, let me get the ruler.
I think you will deal with it better that way.
So, Mr. Nku, you'll see that there's the Hoek Plaza, where there's a payment of 53 rand. And the Hoek Toll Plaza, it is in the region of KZN.
Is that on the 7th of July?
On the 7th of July, it says so, Chairperson. And there's a Moy Toll Plaza. I think it usually records as Moy River.
I doubt that De Hoek is in. Did you say De Hoek is in KZN?
Let's go down.
De Hoek is here close
down,
by.
yes. I think it's Moy Toll Plaza. That goes further down.
Yeah, that's in case.
Maybe you
Yes.
can explain.
And then there's Welge Toll. And then there's Tugela Toll Plaza on the same date, where there's an amount of 78 rands that was paid.
Advocate Msikiri.
And remember, Mr. Nku, I say if these statements are anything to go by, because we still have to verify them, but that's what we received from your bank. Yes.
Do you see the hook on the 7th of July?
I am seeing, Chair. And,
Sorry.
I am seeing, Chair. I don't know whether the 7th is the reconciliation date, because the other. Please look at on the far right.
Yes, I'm getting there. I'm coming there to say that Chair would notice that sometimes with the e-tolls, they don't reflect immediately as you pass by. Hence, I'm saying these need to be verified. But what you can see when you go down, so and then to confirm that point, you will see that on the 8th, at the very least, I think this is the most accurate you can get. On the 8th of July, there is an entry on the 7th. Sorry, it's the 9th of July. On the 7th, there's an entry of Mariam Hill main line that will be in.
That's in KZN, Pinetown area.
Pinetown area. And that, at the very least, we know that it reflects on the 7th of July, even if you look in the middle date, to say that if on the left is the date that was later reflected, but the actual date of the reflection of the transaction, if Mr. Nku would suggest the one in the middle, at least that still puts him in the KZN region in any event. Mr. Nku,
Yes.
do you follow?
Yeah, I do follow, Chair.
Yes, I understand this can be confusing because you'll get the message 2-3 days later sometimes that you pass a toll gate, and then you get surprised.
Yeah. Okay.
Just before there was an issue that you see Mr. Nku keeps whispering. Mr. Nku, I thought there was an issue you wanted to address before you answer the question, which is that the two columns, one could be the date when a transaction reflects in a bank statement, and then another could be the date when the transaction actually happened.
When it was initiated.
When it was initiated. So that's why you have two columns.
The other one is the reconciliation date.
Please don't interrupt me, because I saw you wanted to deal with that before you answer the question. So I was just giving context so that you do that and then you respond to the question. Because otherwise you'll keep interrupting each other because he's asking a question and you want to clarify as he's speaking. So deal with that and then answer his question. It will make more sense that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Balui. But I think he was already on the verge of clarifying. In fact, I think you had clarified, Advocate Musikidi.
I have. And really, Mr. Nku, the point I wanted to deal with, at least at this juncture, is the fact that your reason that you wanted to remain discreet does not hold water. And we will make submissions at least at the end to say that 60,000 had a particular purpose it had to serve. It was not merely there to be spent as you put it. Do you follow that?
Advocate Musikidi, I would like to direct you to the statement again.
Yes.
Maybe on the statement. There is nowhere where accommodation is shown to be paid for. On the statement.
No, I say accept that.
Yeah, sorry to both of you. I think perhaps the page that Mr. Nku should be referred to is 325.
325.
Yes, because there you actually see the hook 7 July, which would suggest that you were traveling south on the day, and then it reflects on your account on the on the 14th of July. But you yourself use your card on the 7th at the Wood Toll Plaza in Heidelberg.
In fact, what you see there, Mr. Nku, is you've got, with each toll plaza, you have travel on the 7th and on the 8th. So that's how they've been arranged. So you've got travel on the 7th and you've got travel on the 8th at the same toll plaza, which shows you were going the one direction and then the opposite direction on the next day. And the same with De Hoek and Moy and Velge.
Do you see that?
Oh, I see that, Commissioners.
Mr. Musigiri, do you want to engage Mr. Nku on that basis then?
Yes, Mr. Nku, then you must accept, based on that your assertion that the reason why you had 50,000 cash on you was for you to avoid having to use your card so that you remain discreet. That does not hold. At least on this narrow point that your card does place you and dislodges your discreetness.
Advocate Musikiri, I don't see anywhere where I've paid for accommodation here.
You don't see what?
On the statement where I've paid for accommodation.
That was not my question.
Okay.
That was not my question about accommodation. You said the reason why, and you mentioned toll gates, if I remember very well in your testimony.
Amongst I said toll gates and accommodation.
Yes, so we're dealing with toll gates. That's my question. It might well be that you paid cash for accommodation. I'm not taking issue with that, and that's not the point I'm getting to. But you accept that.
I concede.
And really, the point is this, Mr. Nku. You have made payments to Mr. Mashaba before, or Chief Mashaba before.
I made payments twice. Yeah.
You have made payments to Mr. Mashaba prior to the 9th of July, 2021. You concede that?
I do concede.
You've paid him some money.
I haven't paid him. I would say I've lended money. I haven't paid him.
We'll deal with that. Let's find a neutral way. You've transferred funds.
I've transferred funds.
We'll come to the reasons as to why those at an opportune time. And really, that's the point I'm trying to make. That you have transferred funds to to Chief Mashaba previously, and on the 9th of July 2021, you had the means to make further payment to him. So paying him would not have been an issue, at the very least, as a proposition, because you had cash with you and you have exchanged monies before. At least you have directed money towards his direction before. You will have to accept that.
I don't accept that, Commissioners.
Which part are you having difficulties with?
So.
You had to, let me break it down.
So maybe put the proposition to him again.
Yes.
Let's try again. We already agreed that you have transferred money to Mr. Mashaba, and we have also considered common cause now that you did have that 60,000 on you on that day. And what I'm saying to you is that then you were in a position to make payment to him on that day, if there was a reason to do so. You had the means, and you have done it before anyway.
Commissioners, I would say that I had the means either way, whether I had cash with me at the point in time.
Yes.
So, regardless of whether I was present, I would have had means.
Yes, no, that's the concern. Remember, we have Mr. Nku, is that you have previously paid Mr. Mashaba for whatever reasons that we'll deal with in due course. But also we're trying to find the reason. Remember, we spent the whole hour now trying to find the real reason or reasons why you kept this money. And you've gave us a couple of reasons, and we're still we have not come to a conclusion as to why you had that money. But I'm putting to you that at that stage, because of what we've discussed and what we have tried at least to exclude, to say this money was kept there, but not for the things that you've mentioned, but also what I'm putting to you now is that that same money could have, there was a opportunity for you if there was a reason to do so, to pay him, or at least to make some transfer to him.
I wouldn't see the reason why to do that.
Because you have done it before. Hence, I'm saying we'll get to the reasons, and he told us why, and that's why I'm saying on the scene on that day, you being found with that kind of amount, and having dealt with, or at least having in this commission being at least informed of your previous dealings with Mr. Mashaba. The idea that, for now at least, that money could have been used for those who assisted you, including Mr. Mashaba, it's not far-fetched. But you can deny it if you want, but those are the facts.
For me, it would be far-fetched, commissioners, because I don't see the reason why to pay him for doing his job.
Now, we're still on page 5. Go to page 5 of your statement. The original statement, the first one.
So, have you already asked your question, or are you still directing? Oh, let's wait. It's fine.
On that paragraph where it mentions, so that the very top paragraph on top. Remember, we are trying. Yes, do you see it there where it mentions that 60,000?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, but what I want to deal with is a different aspect, which is the point I was trying to wrap up with you regarding you being at least creating an impression that you're an informant. And I want to draw your attention to your conversation with...
Sorry, Mr. May I ask questions that are related to your last questions? Please. You said, Mr. Nku, this is page 4 of your statement, not the supplementary.
The main statement.
Yes, you say the 60,000 rand was for. You say it was for part of your traveling expenses. You remember that?
Yes.
In your statement.
Yes, Chair.
Yes. Now, with that much money, would there have been any reason for you not to use the cash? And if so, what would that reason have been? You have, in fact, we know it was not even 60,000, it was 64 or 65,000. With that much cash, would there have been any reason not to use that money, but instead to use your cards?
There probably would have the possibility would have been using I just don't recall using the card, but I would guess what comes to mind is that generally cards are quicker, even when you pass a toll gate. You just tap and you go, as opposed to cash.
But you see the difficulty with that answer. You're quite right. You're quite correct.
Yes.
It's very quick, or if you don't have a tag, then you use your card, it's much quicker. You are quite correct. But your difficulty or your problem is that you said, as Mr. Musigiri engaged you just now, and in fact, even in response to questions by me, you said you are going to use the cash for toll gates. That's your difficulty. But that's not my question. My question is, would there have been a reason for you not to use that cash, but instead to use your card? For whatever travel-related expense? Would there have been any
At that point in time.
on that? I'm talking about the day when you were the days, the 7th and the 8th, when you had 64,000 or 65,000 rand on you. Would there have been a reason for not to use that cash? If there would have been, what would that reason have been?
The only thing that comes to mind, as I say, Chair, it would have been convenience.
So no other reason. You have this cash, you have specifically taken it from your office for using it for travel-related expenses, but you then end up not using it. Is that what you are suggesting? So all of a sudden now you see the convenience that I was talking about when I engaged you much earlier, the convenience of using your card. Now you are falling back to that when you just rejected that and said you wanted to use the cash. How can that suddenly be a fallback position? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, traveling expenses include, hence I said, what is more costly would be then accommodation. However, on the tolls, I maybe need to peruse to check whether I used the card on all the tolls. Because generally I would have had to use the cash.
We've seen quite a few here. We've seen the Hook, we've seen Moy Plaza, we've seen Marian Hill, we've seen Tugela. That's very close to being all of them. That's very close to being all of them.
3 and 4. But because
so if or rather that being the case, it gives a lie to what you said. I will not engage you further on that. Mr. Musigiri has done so. But what I want to, so effectively, you are not, except for the convenience of using your card, you are not able to tell me what convenience, or rather, what reason you would have had not to use the cash that you had specifically taken from Johannesburg to use on this trip. So you have no other reason except for the convenience of your card, or rather, the convenience of using your card. No other reason. Yes.
If I may, the convenience of using the card on tolls, but as I said, I believe cash was used for accommodation.
So you are taking the tolls that you had included. You are now suddenly taking them out.
No, I'm not. Chair.
You are. So sorry. You are. You just did now.
So I need to peruse to check whether all tolls back 3 and 4 were used. I used my card on all tolls.
It doesn't matter if there might be the odd one where you didn't. I mean, if you look at 3 to 5, there's a good few there. If you want to have a quick look, you may do so. But why I ask for a reason as to why you would not have used the cash, look at page 3 to 4, the third last item on that page. Do you see that item? Third last at 324. Do you see it? For an amount of 1,129 rand 50 cents.
Yes, Chair.
That's a fuel purchase at Shell Midway Motors. I have no idea where that is, but it was one of the days on which you were traveling. Where did you pay? Was it in Durban? Where was it? The 8th was one of the, you do see, the transaction was finalized on the 10th of July, but you yourself used your card on the 8th of July. That's a fuel purchase. You see that?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
You have this huge stash of cash. You've not used it for the tolls, and now you've not used it for a fuel purchase. I must say, with all these, let me speak. I must say, with all these transactions where you did not pay cash during your travels, it makes it very difficult to believe the story that you carried 64,000 rand or 65,000 rand to use it for your travels. What's your comment, Mr. Nku?
I have used part of the money for my travels, Chair.
No, I'm making a slightly different point. I'm saying the transactions that we actually see that show that you did not use the cash suggest to me that this question about you having carried cash to use it for your travel may well not be true. That is the point I'm making to you. What comment do you want to make in that regard? I'm not asking you about what you may have partly used the money for. What's your response to what I'm suggesting to you?
Chair, I would say that I have used part of the money, and because what cost more would be accommodation.
Accommodation which was 4,000 or 5,000 rand, and yet you carried 64,000 or 65,000 rand. That just doesn't make sense at all, Mr. Nku.
Can I also just add to the chair that your reason that you gave why you have cash, you say it's because you wanted to travel discreetly. It's completely undermined by the fact that you're driving, for one. Two, you're using your credit card at toll gates. So if you were really concerned about not leaving a footprint there, you've been leaving it all over the place, which is another reason that puts doubt on your explanation why you had the money at the crime scene on the day. You may comment to the chair and to me. I was just adding another factor that I say undermines your explanation for having cash on you on the 9th.
I do understand Commissioner Balui. However, I'm of the view that the tolls that I paid cash in, or rather I paid via card. It wasn't necessarily all the tolls. It would seem there are tolls that I paid cash, but going forward, it would seem I used.
But is it not most? Is it not most of them?
It is
most. It is most of them. So if you gave us as a reason paying tolls, and if you also gave us as another reason not wanting to, or rather wanting to be discreet and not to leave a footprint all over. So basically we must discount part of the reasons you gave us for carrying 64,000 or 65,000 rand. So we must discount some of those. And we are left only with a hotel. Correct? Correct?
And fuel going to.
Sorry?
I think fuel going to then also.
It doesn't matter whether you were going, you were definitely not going to, because you went down on the 7th. This is the 8th. So, but that's not what I'm asking you now. I am saying you gave us reasons that this was travel. 2 reasons. One, you wanted to be discreet, meaning you didn't want to leave a footprint, going down and then up to and from Durban. And secondly, you wanted to use the money for tolls and your hotel accommodation. Now we see that for most of the toll gates, you actually used your card. So what I'm saying is, with the exception of 1 or 2 tolls, effectively, we must discount the reasons that you gave us for carrying the huge amount of cash. 2 of those reasons being the tolls and wanting to travel discreetly. I'm not forgetting the fact that you are saying maybe 1 or 2 you paid cash, but significantly, substantially, you use your cards for tolls. That's the main point. And add to that the fuel. So effectively, we must discount at least 2 of the reasons you gave us. Yes.
Famichi, thank you. Maybe fuel going, because fuel going to, I certainly used cash.
But just respond to my question with regard to the 2 reasons you gave us: paying tolls and wanting to travel discreetly. That's my question. So I'm saying, must we now forget about those as the main reasons? I'm quite mindful of the fact that you say you may have paid for 1 or 2 tolls, but substantially, we must forget about that reason, and we must also forget about the reason that you wanted to travel discreetly. Do you agree? Do you agree? I guess you must. You simply must. Do you agree?
Please allow me, Chair. I would concede, Chair.
Sorry?
I would concede.
You concede, thank you. Now, this takes us back to, that concession takes us back to the point made by Commissioner Baloyi, which is, once you have all these difficulties, that tends to suggest that you having that much money in your car at Ayrton on the 9th may well be that you had that cash for some other reason, not the reason that you have given us. Do you want to comment on that?
Chair, I wasn't planning to be in Ayrton. So I might as well have had that money in Yellow Jersey. The decision for me to find myself in Ayrton was made by other people, not myself, or was made for me.
No. Maybe let me forget about Ayrton. Let me talk about you having that amount of cash in your car. That was for a reason other than the reason that you have given us. Your comment?
I disagree, Chair.
All right. Now, which hotel did you stay at in Durban? A hotel where you paid cash. How many times do you pay cash at hotels? A hotel where you paid cash. What hotel was that?
You do pay cash when you do immediate booking via the bookings.com. They do take cash. I'm thinking, where did I stay?
Please speak up. I hear that.
Apologies. I'm thinking, where did I stay?